All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Thinker St. James here, along with my good friend Chase Parton. And it is the free for all where we go over all of the comedy and the tragedy in this week in the world of mixed martial arts. Chase, how are you, brother?
I am very, very good. Of course, I am excited for tomorrow where we get some UFC fights, but today is obviously to shine some light on the things that you guys may or may not have missed during the week or while we've been in a, layaway or whatever you want to call it for the time. So,
Absolutely. Yes. Tomorrow, UFC, of course. And also, big note for anyone who is not aware, your boy is pulling double duty tomorrow. I will be up early, 11 o'clock a.m. start time. I'm going to be doing Glory kickboxing as well as UFC. So we're doing a lot of streaming tomorrow. If you come early for the Glory, we're going to be doing all of that. And I believe time-wise, it should work out where there's a little bit of a gap. And then we're going to be right back for UFC as well.
yeah, no, that's really great to hear. I'm excited to, I'll probably tune in, of course. I won't be doing anything up until UFC. But, speaking of double duty, I know Thinker wants to shout himself out there. But if anybody didn't know, I was pulling double duty at this moment right here, right now. I was streaming this morning, and obviously we got to watch a lot of one. And it was actually, just to note, just because, I'm throwing it in there, the fucking site. The site said 6:30. I remember waking up at 6:30 in the morning. I get on YouTube. The stream don't start till 7:30. I get on at 7:30 and miss 3 fights. That's the one thing that I'll tell you that happened on one, and that's crucial to know. That is crucial
Yes.
to know.
Yes. Well, first of all, shout out to Chase for, pulling the double on this one. Appreciate you doing that, for being here as well. And yes, that is very annoying. Now, Chase, you have a taste of what I go through all the time with the start times of events. I do not understand this, especially also coming from one. Now, that's a little bit different because, like, for me, Acesso MMA down there in Brazil and, some smaller promotions like that, it's like, all right, things change, whatever, fights drop out. I'm sure that there's a lot that goes into the promotional elements of those like smaller regional shows. But when we're talking about a promotion as big as one championship, you'd think that at that level, it would be like all sorted out. This is the start time. This is when it starts.
No, absolutely. And this is the first time I've had this happen with one specifically, but I've always sat there and kind of thought like, damn, how does Thinker like always fuck this up? Like, how does he never know when something
Not
starts?
me.
Yeah, I know. And now I'm sitting here thinking like, bro, I just woke up at 6 o'clock in the fucking morning, made some coffee, got on the computer, and it said an hour to go. I'm like, you motherfucker, no fucking
I mean,
way,
I must, for the sake of this conversation, bring up my favorite instance of this of all time. It was KSW, where they said the start time, and it was in the 24-hour military time clock, by the way. So it's not like I messed that part up. Like, it's whatever that is. That doesn't matter, time zones or any of that kind of stuff. They said it was at a certain start time. I looked online. It said it started like 12 hours earlier or something like that. And then I went to their website and it was still the time counting down to when I thought it was supposed to start, even though the event had been way, way farther down the line. So,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely a mishap on the organization. I don't know how this happened because I remember seeing the commercial for it, and I'm like, okay, 7:30 or 6:30, I'll be up again. I hate that, whatever. And then when I saw something else, and it said 7:30, and I'm like, that don't seem right because I already saw 6:30. So I wake up at 6:30, and then that's wrong. Again, we don't have to hash it again. But the main point is, one did something interesting that I did not enjoy. But there is something interesting that I am quite enjoying that I really wanted to bring light on. It was going to be later in the show, but since we're talking about one specifically, this is dire need for you to understand.
Okay.
Everybody, including our good friends over at Karate Combat, we will get to them here in a few. everybody wants a gaming companion now. Apparently, everybody wants to have some sort of way for their community to engage, not necessarily with real currency. So this is the first step of the way. It is called One Circle Side. It is a digital collection gaming kind of, there's like, I don't know. Listen, I can't actually get back into it on my computer here. So I can't
All
show you.
right. Well,
Yes,
that's not good.
well, because they won't send me the email, and then every time I get, so I have it on my phone, and
Okay.
I just want to show you guys just
Uh,
an instance, because so you'll open packs. You'll get packs for picking fights correctly.
Packs
And
of what,
then
like cards?
yes, and they
Okay.
will have certain stats on them, right? So this one card that I have, one, God, I hate this.
Mhm.
It is a stamp card, and it is a +3 referee breaks. So when I go into picking the fights, I would there would be an option, how many referee breaks would there be? And I could play the +3 stamp card, which
Oh, interesting. Oh,
now it is fun, it is cool, I kind of enjoy the aspect of it. It is cool in the way that you think that you're gonna get some NFT digital device. I just want you to understand that this is Stamp getting a referee break or something, and it's it's nothing of what the card actually says, and it ends very, very quickly, and again, I wish
just
I
a little, like a little GIF kind of thing.
just a little GIF, and I guess you battle. I think that's coming eventually because there's a tab called Gym. Maybe you can train your cards. I don't listen. One circle side. If you could let me get into the PC version, I would be very happy to be again. Listen, this is a very, very small amount of people on this. I'm one of the few guys. I want you guys to understand, and this is why I really wanted to bring it up because I feel like I'm kind of in the fucking loop here when it comes to the gaming of one. I'm like one of 30 people in this right now, and I placed so low that I didn't even get a reward. So I want you guys to know that it is a fun time and it's coming soon. And when they have more spots available, be on the waiting list. I mean, you can
Well,
get it right here.
so I mean, how do you know for sure that you're one of 30? Does it tell you how many people have signed up or something?
It has a leaderboard right now.
Ah, okay.
Let me and when you go to the rewards, that's where
Uh-huh.
the leaderboards would be. 22 is the last spot. I know you can't really
Ah.
see it, but there's only 22 people in it. So,
Hmm.
I'm one of
Okay.
them, guys.
All
Just
right.
I'm in the know it all. When it comes to one, Mr. Chatri, I'm out here doing it for you, brother.
And
I
what
just
and
want
where
you to
where are
know.
you ranking out of the 22 currently, you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got
I mean,
so
you brought it
you're
up.
right.
I'm curious
You're
here.
right. So, so the top person, they get 3,000 coins and they get a pack, right? So
Uh-huh.
that dude is cooking right now. Mr. Andy HM. You know, second place gets 1,500 in a pack, so half of the coins in a pack. Third place, you get 750 coins. Top five, 500 coins. And then top 10, you get 100 coins. And then after that, you don't get anything. So I got 13th place, guys. And I was
Hey,
doing very, very good.
13 out of 22 is not the worst in the world, man. I mean, that's
Well,
it's a small pool, but still.
so there was one fight specifically when I want to show you exactly how the game kind of works. So I had a fight between Kamwad and Semingdam, right? And I picked Semingdam to win by knockout. And I put it over. I had a card for +2 rounds, right? So I played that card. And then I had the +3 referee breaks stamp. You know, I had the stamp card. And then I had a 2+ knockdowns. Well, I hit on 2+ rounds because it went to decision. They had plenty of referee breaks because that one is very scandalous. Like how many times I watched this dude just stand there and not break it up, but then break it up 7 different times really, really quickly. Like
Mhm.
very scandalous. And then the
Okay.
knockdowns, I cashed out on that one. There is an easy cash out option too, which to note, it is more than half. So I took that very easily. So even though there was an extra knockdown, I didn't end up getting all the points, but I did very, very well on this one and still ranked 13th. So they got to fix their fucking systems. Leaderboard's obviously bugged, but
Well,
either way.
fair. I mean, I guess what I'm taking away from this is that if any of what Chase just outlined sounded interesting to you, then definitely defer to Chase. Go over to at CP Smalls on YouTube. Make sure you're following him because he's going to be an expert on this one circle side dealy that they got going on here.
Yeah, and I obviously brought it up at the beginning. There are other organizations who are trying to have their way in some sort of gaming companion app kind of deal. And, Karate Combat was somebody who at the time they had the karate coin or whatever, where you would, do your predictions, your whatever
Mhm.
you want to say, your cloud betting. Well, good to note that they have their newest rising star. Waiting to see, is this his second match? Do we even know? I don't know, but he's coming to Karate Combat, and it's going to be a good one. So let me know.
Yeah, I believe that this is his first time in Karate Combat, and that's why this is such a big deal. But yes, Wing C is making his way to Karate Combat finally. This is to a lot of people who follow the, kind of fringe organizations, street beefs, and the like. This guy is apparently very popular. He's got quite a following. People are very aware of him. All I really know about him, I have not seen him on Street Beef, so I have not. I'm not familiar with his acumen as a fighter goes. But what I have seen was I think I saw him win a fight and then nearly kick Keith Peterson in the head. Because
Nice.
he like did like a backflip or something, and Keith Peterson was like, "Oh, hey, whoa, whoa." But so either way, I mean, this is quite a character, this Winged Sea fellow, and he's fighting. The thing that I thought was interesting here was he's fighting a guy who's 3-3.
Yeah.
So they might be teeing Wing C up for a nice entry into Karate Combat with this one.
Well, I will definitely say, he's 6-2, I mean, he ain't no slouch as of right now. Excuse me, I'm over here just dying, right? But the thing that I will note, obviously Winged C comes in and he's a big name, but shout out to Karate Combat. I will give them props for one thing because again, they're one of the organizations that pop up on Fridays. So they are, setting themselves apart from the UFC in that manner. But they will often pull the holiday themed Friday the 13th or the Halloween day kind of deal. I major respects because you get a character like this on here, Friday the 13th card. Yeah, this dude definitely fits the fucking build. Like, Jesus. So it'll be interesting to see. I think there's some other things going down on this card. Probably the grappling match between Walter Walker and the guy with no
Yeah,
legs. So
Zion Clark. Yes, I was going to mention that myself. Yes, this is the same card as Walter Walker and Zion, and that'll be interesting in its own right. This, another thing. I'm looking forward to this one. I think that this is definitely going to be one that we'll be watching.
100%. Yeah, no. Well, Karate Combat again, we'll have to see if it now that I'm in the loop with one, they're not competing just with the UFC anymore. I have my viewership somewhere else as of right now when it comes to Fridays. Potentially a Friday night could be taken up, and even LFA at this point, Karate Combat, you really kind of you had a fan and then you disappeared for 6 fucking months and then you didn't pay
Well,
your fucking fighters. So
that really what I was going to say, dude. Excuse me. I'm choking too. Also what I was going to say about Karate Combat is, yeah, I mean, Karate Combat has such a good product when they're doing things correctly and everything goes off without a hitch, and they're presenting you with the show as expected. I mean, like we all like Karate Combat. That's why it had the groundswell that it has had, and then all of the stuff, the stuff that I've reported on the channel, and the various rumblings around the product, plus the crypto element of it is its own thing. There are a lot of things that Karate Combat does right, and a lot of things that are perhaps not being done correctly. Like lean in on the right things that you do, maybe minimize some of the less savory elements, I would say.
yeah, but one way or another, we're gonna get to see a Karate Combat. We're gonna get to see if all these colorful characters that they are acquiring, of course, if they're gonna pan out to be the spectacles that people are gonna show up for. Because as it stands, if you haven't noticed, it's been an entire year since we've kind of like kept an eye on Karate Combat. They're still in warehouses. They have never evolved to high school gym. They've never got to a college arena. They have not sold out one big venue yet. That is key to know. I mean, they're obviously still in Miami, but like they you could do they have their own place, but like it always looks like shit at this point. Like how are
Well,
you
I
not
mean,
at
I
that
think that
point?
that was if they were going for that as the aesthetic, I'd be okay with it. But like the problem that I have with that is that they started off with the aesthetic. They were dripping with the backgrounds that they used to have, the animations going on and all this high tech, those volume stage walls that were like putting graphics up and making the presentation look really cool. They went away from that, kept kind of like this, dojo feel to everything, which I'm okay with that aspect
I
of it. I
respect
mean,
it.
like, if you want to have that as like your sort of your deal where it's like an intimate setting and, kind of a small crowd sort of feel like again, I reference battle rap. It reminds me of the difference between when they would do big shows at like, big halls versus like street corner battles. That's like two different feels to that, which both have their own appeals, in my opinion. So I'm okay with that aspect of it. If that's what they're going for is like, small crowd, small venue, whatever, but you don't go from having the cool ass graphic backgrounds downgrade and then stay downgraded, like, you know, and then also with all the rest of the problems on, you know what I mean? Like, there's too much trending in the wrong direction for karate combat, I guess, is the basic notion that I have.
Yeah, 100%. And, speaking of trending in the wrong direction, there's a lot of moments in this sport that you would say would make you feel like, oh, the sport is trending in the wrong direction. You see something like this, but in light of Karate Combat, this could also be their newest big star. And I know you sent me this video, so we're going to go ahead and get into this one because it is kind of funny, but I didn't watch the entirety of it.
Oh,
So
yes.
let's get into it, and then you'll go ahead and say what you would like to. And then I'm going to maybe find something to say. So let's go. Oh, there's no sound. I'm sorry.
Stop! Stay! Stay! Stop!
Yeah.
Come. 1 point! 1 point!
Did you hear the city?
1 point!
We're not gonna hump him though. We're not gonna do that. Here. Don't do that again.
Fight! Let it run.
Yes.
Stop! Stop! Stay! Stay! Stop! Come. 1 point.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I didn't want to run through the entirety of it.
Sure.
but-
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure everybody could see the beginning
Yes.
of it because it kind of starts quickly with what happens there. But if you're still kind of struggling to interpret what basically went down there, is that you see that the text on screen, is this illegal? And what happened in the fight is that this dude on top is essentially humping the dude on the ground, and he's saying that he's going to shove his member in his mouth, and that is a disrespectful thing for sure. But I wanted to bring this up. First of all, this is in Combat Night, so shout out to the hometown. This is a local organization in Central Florida, which I got to give a lot of respect to. They do a lot of good things in the area and graduate a lot of high level fighters. So shout out to Combat Night, of course. That being said, as far as the actual question in this text, is this illegal? That is really more of why I wanted to bring this up and have the discussion about this, because I have a copy of the unified rules. It's over at Vitz King's house, but we printed out the unified rules and put it in a binder so that we could answer exactly these types of questions. Is this illegal? Not by the letter of the unified rules of MMA, it is not. And is it point deduction worthy? That is the bigger question to me, and that seems like the bigger egregiousness of all of this.
I think you're actually correct. I think, is there an unsportsmanlike conduct, rule in the book? I'm not too sure. I haven't looked too deep into it. And it is definitely interesting. I would say that. And while I would say it's not friendly or not sportsmanlike, I don't think it's illegal. But I will say this. The ref's confidence about taking it. He in his mind it was illegal. So everybody in the arena, casual aside, even the people who know a little bit about the sport, they're with him. They're like, all right, he took the point. He knows what he's doing. You can't hump my man. Like, all right, 1 point, we're not gonna do that, buddy. I really respect him for that, because you got to take charge. You're not gonna let people hump in your cage, not on your watch. Come on, like, and it could have. I think taking the point would have been. Okay, jokes aside, that is pretty crazy to take a point. But and to take away the position though, because he's in full mount, bro. Like he was about to start winning. He was about to win the fight, and then now we're back to the feet for some dumb shit. But fair.
Yeah, I
fair.
mean,
I don't know. Lots of questions. That's all.
No,
I'll say.
yeah, I mean, I think that you're kind of hitting all the points. So I reviewed the unified rules before this stream to make sure that I was not mistaken in that there is language about unsportsmanlike conduct, but it is in reference to like back of the head shots and like specific fouls that are like already established fouls. There's not any or actually another one that's actually kind of interesting, and where this referee could have had like a loophole in his action here is there is language about using foul language, specifically about language. So it's like, if you're, like the referee's discretion is to, how egregious your language is in the cage. And if you're, I guess swearing or whatever they just decide is language that they deemed to be foul worthy, that's where there may be something. But obviously that is not what he even said it himself. He's like, we're not doing the humping. So it's like, I mean, again, to the letter of the rule set, no. And again, like you said, to take the position and the point is kind of a wild thing here. This very much reminds me of Dan Murgliata who comes up a lot on these streams, Dan Miragliotta in Bellator once took a point, I believe, from MVP for emoting essentially, and like for just kind of dance moving and making faces and doing all this kind of like jibber jabber shit at Paul Daly. I think it was that match. Dan Miragliotta was not right in that in Bellator, and this referee I think is way out of line with this. You could, what I would say would be appropriate is if he said, "Hey, stop real quick, don't take the position or anything, just hold, stop doing that. Come on, we're not, that you're out of line. Stop doing that. Time in." That I think would have been okay, and even that is probably not correct, but still, if you were going to be taking it to that level, I would say that would be okay, I guess, in the context. But to do all this other extra shit just seems like referee inserting himself into the fight way more than needed.
No, oh my God. CTE and Hydra are hilarious. Let me go ahead and run them down. First off, actually, we didn't even go through this. Shout out the fucking chat. I'm sorry, guys. That's
Most
on me.
definitely.
Shout out the chat, Hydra, CTE, and everybody else who's out there. You guys are really, really funny right now. That ref didn't care about the rules. That was a true ref do something moment. And, love it. And then the craziest part, MVP pretended to take a selfie.
There you go.
Point. Take a point. Jesus.
Yeah. And it really was like, I think that he had gotten warned earlier in the fight, again, by Big Dan Miragliotta. Hey, dude, I'm basically him saying, I don't like what you are doing. I don't like that you are toying with your opponent like this, because it's not like he wasn't engaging. You know what I'm saying? Like this guy, same here. I mean, it would be one thing if he was literally just humping him without any kind of actual offense. You know what I mean? Which I don't know how you would really do in MMA, but you know what I'm saying? Like if you're doing something foul, but there's no actual action attached to it as far as advancing the fight goes, then I think that you have some leg to stand on there. But he is clearly, full mount is about as clear as it gets on offense. Come on.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, no, this one was definitely wild. I don't know if you guys are big fans of it, but if you are out there, let us know in the chat. But as of right now, it stands that there was no right answer there.
And
I would just say that.
I also wanted to ask, because maybe this is a little blind spot in my knowledge here, because both CTE and Hydra referenced this. Is there something John Jones had asked about in the backstage with Big John McCarthy at some point?
I did not hear about this one, but that is when you say John Jones and something like that, it's like it's obvious because he's just that John Jones joke. But if there's some serious stories behind this, what are we getting out here?
Sorry, I hit the wrong.
No, oh no, yeah, no, you're fine. I was gonna say, guys, he was just going for a mounted triangle. True, exactly. I mean, he was definitely. Listen, a lot of foul play here. That's all I would say. And interesting times call for interesting moments to be made. And the next thing that we're going to get into, if there's anything less you want to say on here, I'll give you the moment.
No, the only thing I guess I'm going to have to find out. I want to know who won this. I hope that this guy still ended up winning. You know what I mean? Like, because it's like if he was in a position like that and was about to ground and pound, because I don't know what round this is. We don't have much context for this, obviously. This kind of just is a clip in isolation. But, I hope that this did not deter this guy from winning, because if this had been the thing that turned this fight in an opposite direction, that would be egregious for this dude.
Yeah, absolutely. The ref definitely screwed him out of, his 50% on check. But either way, if you were screwed out of anything in life, just know that you don't have to be too mad. You're not going to make mistakes. You're going to have a really good life after that. But there's other people out here who are going to continue to make mistakes on the big screen.
All right.
Get sworn in.
My guy.
I, Tito Ortiz.
Solemnly affirm that I will support and defend.
Do I solemnly swear?
I do solemnly affirm
I do solemnly affirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California.
I'm not laughing. Yeah.
That is very classic. Yes, I have seen that clip before. Tito, of course, is a national treasure. We all know this. It is so okay. What I will say about this specifically, right? Tito, on his own, in his own videos, in an MMA context, it's like, yes, this is all very funny. The fact that was him being sworn into an elected position of governance over the populace in some area of the United States, California, I'm sure, that is a little disturbing. I would say slightly disturbing that man was given that much power, but you see what the rest of the government looks like at this point. How bad could Tito be?
Yeah, see, when it came to a lot of these clips for the week, and finding stories, this is one of the early ones where I was like, this would just be a really good one to just laugh off. There's not really much context to it. There's not really anything else to talk about, but
I, I
really,
mean,
really good stuff.
I think that really any slow if we did end up having a slow week, just any Tito clip can just get slotted in as a perfect addition to the show. So I'm very happy that you brought that up. And also, in a little bit more on a serious note here, I do think that it is good to see Chuck Liddell making the rounds and going out on Dom Cruz's show. It's good to see Chuck still out there in the light, and hopefully he was doing good on that show. I'd have to go listen to that episode at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And, speaking of an episode that you probably maybe don't need to listen to, we're going into this next one because we got Jailton Almeida, and he probably had some stupid podcast where he said this. So he says, I see a lot of people talked about the fight, saying they didn't like it and it was boring and all that, but they say that because I'm Brazilian, right? If I were a foreigner, everyone would like it.
Of course, and he is referencing the Volkov fight there. Yeah, no, I brought this to the show for the week because I was curious about your opinions about this, Chase. I mean, do you think that people just don't like Brazilians, and that's why his style is what it is? Like, it's not anything to do with people perceiving the grappling to be boring or anything like that. It's specifically because he's Brazilian.
I well, when you say something like that, and again, I'm not very smart, but here's my thought. When I say this, I'm like, aren't you also a foreigner? Like, is that not the case here? But I mean, maybe I'm wrong here. But when he says this, I'm like, you could have maybe said it a little more directly if that's what you were saying. Like, oh, if I was Middle Eastern, like everybody would have the problem. But like, you just kind of sounded stupid in my opinion. Like, brother, you are a foreigner. Like, what are you
Yeah,
talking about?
I don't know if that was just a translation thing or if he
Maybe.
maybe something like that. But either way, I mean, the sentiment is what kills me because who's also Brazilian. Charles Oliveira, about 800,000 other fighters on the roster, fighters that people love to watch, some of the greatest fighters of all time. Yeah, I don't understand where this equation comes from in his head. I think that this is a pretty easy answer to why people think that your fights are boring, Jalton. It's because you are a wet blanket who doesn't know how to strike. I mean, I think I can sum it up pretty easily in a couple of words for you, none of which have anything to do with your nationality.
Yeah, absolutely. Jailton is a funny, funny dude. I'm rooting for him for the best, this weekend, of course, but this one was not it, brother. This one was not the pull that you could have made. I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
CTA cooking with this, of course, because people notoriously love Torres Finney and hate Charles Oliveira. I mean, you're taking the words out of my mouth here, but this is I'm just flabbergasted by this as the defense of this. Like, bro, have you not learned anything from like the former SJW crowd, the fucking the feminist movement, whatever, the people who automatically jump to identity as their weapon to counteract any kind of criticism? You know that this instantly gets shut down by everybody who hears that. Oh, it's because I'm such and such. It's because I'm this. It's like, bro, this is no longer a valid method of defending anything. This has been proven in multiple areas in multiple ways. Like, why you would go to this knowing how you fight? You are the one doing the fighting.
Yeah.
It's not us.
And
We were just watching it. You're the one living it.
true. And speaking of doing the fighting, I actually want to go ahead and give a shout out to Nav. He's
Hey,
talking about foreign the band. Don't stop. Is a foreigner? Foreigner the band?
Journey is the band that did "Don't Stop
Yeah, I was
Believing," but
gonna say,
Foreigner,
Jesus, come on, what the heck, Nav? You got me all screwed up here. But
yeah,
yeah,
Foreigner,
speaking of fighting,
and
Jailton can't do that, so he's still living up to get over that moment from DC, just dropping that bar on Tom Aspinall. Yo,
you think that this is where
Jailton,
this comes from? Maybe
it,
he heard that and was like, "Damn, I got to figure out some way. Everyone's hating me now. DC is literally telling the whole world the quiet part out loud."
yeah, I think he at this point, even if it's not true, like anything he says at this point, it's like, well, he's got to say something that makes me remember that he's good because at this point, DC said it, bro. He can't fight. Everybody going into a fight with him it knows that he cannot fight. The two-time champion. He looks at him and he's like, dude, that dude is toast. If I was in my fucking prime, so everybody should have like a little hope that like maybe maybe he's not just all that kind of deal. Maybe he's just a dude with great athleticism and great grappling. But when you actually have, confidence against him and you do anyway, not going to get too much into it. But Jailton Almeida, very, very funny dude. Very, very funny dude. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I think really what I would end this with is to say to any fighter out there, Brazilian or otherwise, don't do this. This is never going to work.
Yeah, true, absolutely.
It
And
makes serves to make you look stupid.
true, but that was a fun one. Obviously, get into a little UFC stuff before we get into this weekend. But I would like to talk about some things that are going to happen in the future, not necessarily now, but obviously we should talk about them to pad some time here. So we're going to get into
Okay.
the UFC London main event. This got announced. What are you guys thinking? Movzar versus Lerone Murphy. It is official.
I mean, I think that I don't know if I speak for everyone, but I certainly speak for myself in saying that fucking finally is how I feel about this. I mean, like both of these guys been in the equation for a title shot. Obviously, we saw what just happened with Volkan Lopez too, which a lot of people, including myself, said did not need to happen, was a dumb booking to begin with. Why that immediate rematch was the one that they chose. There are reasons for it. We talked about this a couple of times. Either way, one or either of these guys probably should have filled that slot already. Now we can get them to fight each other and find out who exactly should do it. Let them, let this be a true title eliminator here.
I do really appreciate the title eliminator aspect. Like I do appreciate that, like, yo, you guys are both undefeated. Go get your title shot kind of deal. But they've kind of been putting it off for a really long time. And at this point, it's kind of to like people are advocating that both of them need to get their title shot. So the fact that they're facing each other, that means only one of them is going to get it, and then we're going to get to the stagnant point in the fucking division again, where one person has a loss, and you're waiting for John Silva to have an actual win streak again, and then he can have the shot, or you're waiting for Zalal to beat Aljo. And if these things happen, then maybe Lerone and Movzar just don't ever get the title shot at that point, which is it's fair, that's how the game is. But unfortunately, I really liked the style that both of them brought individually to a Volk matchup, but we're just not going to see both of them go against Volk at this point. So
Yeah, I mean that is true. That's the nature of the game anyway.
yeah,
So it is what it is when it comes to that. May the best man win, and may the best man get what they deserve out of that. I also do agree with with the chat sentiment here. Hydra saying that Mosar only had himself to blame for the inactivity. I mean, this dude. Like I am never a fan of anybody who sits out waiting for things to happen, considering that there's no need for it if you're as good as he has been. I mean, like with the style that he has, might not be fan favorite, but like you add that to the fact that he is inactive and that he's not a big talker. There's really not a whole lot to like about Movsar. Movsar is the kind of guy that you don't dislike, but you don't like. You don't actively like support. At best, I would say.
true. I do like this. I'm not really sure if I want to give away too much of the sauce, but if you had a quick prediction to throw out for this, what would you say? Because I have a really hot take. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, on paper, I would say that Movsar probably takes it with the style that has been working for him. But Lerone is very crafty, and Lerone has a good set of physical attributes that allow him to maybe outmaneuver some of the grappling that's going to happen there. Maybe get himself out of some of the stickier situations that he might find himself in. I'm probably gonna again like I don't like it, but I'd say that it's going to be Movsar based on what we've seen so far. What is the spicier take, Chase?
My spicy take is that we have two of the most biggest decision merchants that you will ever see in the sport. And they are facing each other at like 19-0 or whatever the fuck it is. One of them is going to lose, and I believe it is actually going to be by finish. And I think that Movzar is going to be able to hold down Lerone. And I don't know actually if I'm sold, because I would love to believe that Mozar finally gets a submission, right? Somehow, some way, holds him down, gets a triangle, not a triangle, but an arm triangle. Or this is where I think it's even spicier. I think Lerone should be very prepared for a game off of his back. What if he has the jujitsu? Because I've been hearing England has the jujitsu. Manchester has the jujitsu. Pretty sure this is where this dude's from. I don't know though. We got a lot of people in the UK that have really good jujitsu these days. And if Lerone doesn't see a threat from Mosvar on the top, I mean, he might be able to throw something up and he might be able to get something if he's confident enough and if he's trained well enough over this time. But that's a real spicy one. I think this fight is going to end by submission, but I can't tell you who though. I have to do a little more research.
Yeah.
This will be a good one.
It's an interesting take for sure. I like it. I like the thought process on it. I see chat's references of the Arnold Allen fight when it comes to Movsar. What I will say is that if you have that as the regardless of how that played out, which the rules being what inappropriately applied, unfortunately that's the case, and that is how that one went down. But if you take away the elements of that fight, Mopsar went through a good amount of hell. Arnold Allen is a tough customer with when he throws his hands, which he was doing a lot, throws his knees when he was doing that a lot. He was able to withstand a whole lot of pressure and damage from him. Lerone, I think that he might offer a similar amount of that. And if Mopsar is able to handle all of that, I mean, this could be another one where he just ends up, if you want to call it a gifted win, then okay. If he gets him down on the ground and can hold him down, we're going to have to see if Chase's prediction here is correct about him having this mythical English jiu-jitsu, which, we've seen some of it. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. I'd like to see more of it. Show, all you got to do is show me. And that's all, always how it goes. So, again, this is just and I'm a Lerone Murphy fan. I've been a fan of him for a long time. I've always said that it was the Edson Barbosa fight with Lerone Murphy where I said that guy has champ potential. It was one of the most flawless performances I've ever seen. But that's Edson Barbosa at the age that he was at, all of the circumstances. And then we saw what happened with Lerone when he fought Dan Ige. So there's a lot of factors here is what I'm trying to say. What ends up happening is going to be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chad, I just want to give another shout out because you guys are really, really funny. Obviously, Nav, CTE. Nav with actually Mosvar, I think, had knee surgery in that downtime. That's actually a bar. We got to find that one out. That's probably maybe not even knee surgery, but any sort of injury kind of health recovery kind of thing. Hydra, of course. God, I hate Mosvar so much as a bar. Lerone by KO. That's what I had last time against Pico, and I was very confident about it, but I don't see it this time. I'm not seeing it, man. I'm just trying. I have my crystal ball here. Mosvar will never finish a man in the cage, only ever in his closet. I love this one. That is very, very good.
He was in a sauna with Sneeko. I'm just putting that out there. I'm not. Those are two completely unrelated things, by the way. That's just a separate thing I mentioned.
True, absolutely. And then obviously we did not give a shout out to Lachlan yet. I appreciate you for being here, man. You're the best.
The homie, absolutely. Shout out Lachlan for real, for real. And I saw Lachlan when he said that Volk smokes both of these guys easy, and you know it. I mean, it's hard, after seeing what Volk has now done to Diego twice, who, we both, myself and Chase, had very, high stock in. It's hard to say otherwise, but, who knows? I mean, there was a clip that I had posted before the last fight, and it was us talking about it. And it was, you saying that, like, the speed is the difference between the shot grazing your nose and you getting chinned. And I think about that very often because it's like, while it did not happen in that fight and his Volk speed looked great still, and I got to imagine that it's going to continue till this fight, it's always going to be that lingering thought at this point, but it's Volk, so maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of things that don't matter, this fight coming up, I can probably tell you, maybe doesn't matter in the long run, but there's a few things that I want to tell you about. So we're going to get into it.
All right.
Luke Riley is going to take on Michael Aswell, UFC London, of course. Now, there's a couple things to note. If you've ever seen Breaking Bad, I was not the person who made this up. I just got told that Luke Riley looks like the kid from Breaking Bad. And I can't
Walt
unsee
Jr.
Jesus Christ, it is crazy. But if you want to know even something funnier, is like, you ever been to when you went to school, right? If you ever think back to the school picture day and you had that horrible fucking photographer, look at how they had Michael Aswell pose for this shit. Like, are you kidding me right now? They took the picture and said, "Yeah, man, that looks real fucking good." You see that? Like, are you kidding me? He looks so awkward.
He looks like I'm not a kid. I'm a big, strong man.
Yeah, like, Jesus Christ, this picture is crazy. But yeah, so this fight in the long run may not actually matter. I don't know if we know who to take yet because we haven't really seen too much of either one. The only thing that I know is Luke Riley trains with Patty, pretty sure, right? Is this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's another one of those.
And then Michael Aswell trains with Josh Fan. So there you go. He's actually his best friend, apparently. And Chase spoiled fight news on the fucking card for Josh Fan. So
they're also very true. Yes. So we saw Luke Riley get a really nice knockout. That's our introduction to Luke Riley in the UFC. we've seen Michael Aswell take about as many power shots as a human being can take. I call Michael Aswell the Iron Chin of Texas.
Yeah.
That being said, could it be unstoppable force meets unmovable object when it comes to that? Perhaps. What I also will say though is Michael Aswell takes all those shots. You know what I mean? He's going to take the damage. He's work on the defense is what I would say to Michael Aswell, because it's like, yeah, bro, we get it, you're tough, but that all of all of those factors as they are, that's not to say that Michael Aswell can't throw his own hands. And if Luke Riley starts seeing that his power shots are not working out enough, there could be something there for Michael Aswell. I would say Michael Aswell, if he can get this fight into later rounds.
I actually dig the idea that this could go to later rounds. I think obviously Michael Aswell will take the shots, but I'm going to actually lean the other way. I think Luke Riley is going to have a person who's willingly wanting him to punch him because there's, some light at the end of the tunnel when he gasses out, I got him. But I think Michael Aswell is going to be walking forward, getting punched in the face, and he's going to be a little more tired than he probably should be in that third round. And I think Luke Riley, maybe, I don't know. I feel like I can see Michael Aswell just getting really fucking tired in this fight. Maybe Luke Riley mixes in the body shots really well. We'll see. So,
Yeah, a lot of, and also it's like I have not seen Luke Riley on Cage Warriors, so I know he was a big standout guy on Cage Warriors. Maybe there's more to his game than what we did see in his fight because it was one of the quicker ones. If he has to get into a little bit of deeper waters, then maybe we get a little bit more information out of it as well. So, just keep an eye on the fight and see, gather the data as you can. But I like this matchup for that exact reason that, I know Aswell is a tough customer, and Luke Riley is a power puncher. So, I think that we got a good combo in the two of them.
yeah, this will be really, really fun. Speaking of really, really fun, I think this next one that I'm going to bring up to you, this is higher stakes,
All right.
and a very high level of excitement. So here we go. Also on UFC London, you got Michael Venom Page taking on Sam Patterson. What to note about this one? MVP wanted to be active and nobody wanted to take the fight, so he has said. And he took on an unranked opponent in Sam Patterson. English on English crime here in London. This is going to be very, very good.
I love this fight so much. I absolutely am ecstatic that this fight is taking place. Sam Patterson, I have said now a couple of times, is a dude who flies under the radar because he looks like the milkman. But when you actually see him fight, he goes out there and he either knocks people out or he chokes them out. The dude can do a whole bunch. I mean, he's got such a well-rounded skill set going up against one of the most creative strikers in the league and in the UFC, I would say. I know that, some people have different opinions about MVP for their reasons, and that's up to you to feel that way. I like MVP. I've been a fan of his since Bellator. I think he is one of the few Bellator guys in recent times that has come over and done pretty well, for himself. He's mixed results. It's not like he's shot up to the top to a belt necessarily, but he has held his own. He fits in the UFC. He brings something interesting to the equation. So this fight right here, I think, has a lot to offer. I enjoy this fight being what's going to happen here.
Yeah, I'm not too certain on what is going to happen. I would like to agree that CTE and Hydra are cooking here with this tag team. Two ranked middleweight wins gets you an unranked welterweight, and then
True.
obviously you have to MVP has to have one of the worst managers ever. Can anybody confirm if it's Ali Abdelaziz or what? So
Yeah, no, that's a good question. No, yeah, I think that you actually said it correctly. I mean, if now, who knows if it's true or not that people are actually ducking the fight. That, every fighter seems to say that.
yeah.
But I do like the idea that if MVP, knowing that he's getting a little older, if he wants to stay active, stay relevant, and continue on trying to make something happen for himself, he is fighting in two different weight classes for all of this. I mean, but I don't know which way. Do you know what weight this is taken at, by the way?
I don't know. I would assume welterweight because that's where Sam Patterson has been trying to raise his rank. So
Yeah, well,
and,
and that's I
and
didn't know if he was moving up. I would doubt
Well,
it. He,
it that's the way that I would say it because Sam Patterson is trying to, rank up in his, and MVP doesn't necessarily want to lose his rank in middleweight, but he'll go into welterweight and kind of fuck around. I feel like that's
sure.
kind of how that works.
Yeah, I mean that, and it seemed like he in the past was the reverse of that, where he was kind of fucking around in
Yeah.
middleweight and wanted so. But whatever, that MVP does what MVP does. You know what I mean? He's one of those kinds of guys, I guess. Either way, I mean, like, I like that he is staying active. I like that he is giving shots to guys like a Sam Patterson who has been somewhat under the radar. I want this to be something that puts Sam Patterson on the map either way, whether he wins or loses this. Go out there, have a good performance, make it a fun fight on both sides. This has classic potential right here to me.
Here's the problem. In this recency bias state that we're in right now, even CTE threw a little sprinkle of it just right there. MVP is getting this hate so far. It's like so unwarranted. Like MVP, honestly, and I'm somebody who likes guys who fight, who go in there and fight. I think MVP is one of the more technical strikers that we have. He's very impressive. He is crazy on the feet. And yeah, he's very evasive, but like he truly does crack people, and it may be a shove or whatever, bro, but he's fine. He's okay. And Sam Patterson, on the other hand, also a very, very good finisher. Do I think he's going to be able to get MVP down like a Ian Gary was able to? That I'm not positive of. But I don't know. MVP is very, very exciting to me. And I think this is again, I say this a lot often now, but that people forget, man. Like, this is really going to come out here. MVP is going to show you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I mean, MVP is a dude who will throw the reverse 12-6 elbow and make it work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's got a skill set that is very unique. I remember in a Yama episode a while back, I had said when MVP was coming over, I was like, to me, he seemed like a solvable puzzle. It's the way I described it. I was like, he's very unique. He's very flashy. Someone's going to be able to figure it out. He's been in the UFC now long enough that should have already happened. And granted, he has had his losses, so it's not like he is immune, that, the style is just so overwhelming that he's not taking losses. But my thing is that the creativity still enhances the fight, as opposed to someone like a Mauricio Hufi, where it obviously at some point did get figured out and became a little bit of a detractor to him, I'd say.
Yeah, so I guess I'm asking the question to you and the chat. In London, if everybody seems to be on the hate MVP bandwagon now, is this not going to be a banger? Like, what's the plan here?
Oh, it's definitely going to be a banger. And yeah, like I said, I think this has classic fight potential written all over it. First, off rip, if both fighters fight the way that they fight, I think it could be a great fight. And I think that really MVP probably gets the job done regardless of him not representing the country and people. Yeah, because it's only the hardcore that actually hate him. I don't think that he, like, in England, he's like, Sam Patterson is not getting a bigger pop in England than MVP, I'd say.
That's actually a great point. I saw it in the chat we were talking about. He's one of those human of the world chats. I was actually thinking, can you represent Pangea? Is this a thing that you could do? Anybody
no longer exists, unfortunately. Yeah. It has to be. I think it has to be either a nation on the planet or no nation at all.
Oh man, that's crazy. But either way, speaking of crazy things, I'll tell you one thing that's crazier. This guy, Losa, I don't even know how to say his name. Keita?
Yeah, Losine Kaita. Yeah, the guy who has the same last name. I think he was who they named Taylor from The Cage after.
Oh, nice, obviously. But yes, he is going against Nathaniel Wood one more time. UFC London, March 21st. And Keita obviously missed weight on his debut against Pitbull Patricio. And I don't know if you guys ever saw the backstage footage. I wonder if we played it on this episode, on this show.
I don't think we did.
And Pitbull was basically, sitting by him, just kind of chilling. I was like, man, you should have made that fucking weight, dude. Like, I didn't have to. I'm not going to take that fucking fight with you. You're not even sweating, dude. So it's just kind of funny. But Keita finally gets a fight. This makes sense of a fight because Nathaniel Wood obviously will take anything that comes his way. He's just a fucking Chad. He'll make anybody look good, and it's not in the way that he's bad, but he's there to brawl, and that's what's going to be in Keita's favor, because nobody really wants to take the fight at this point because he's going to miss weight or whatever, even though he didn't. We'll get into some other stuff, but at this point, I fucked that up. I'm thinking of today. He probably may miss weight, but either way, Nathaniel Wood he'll go in there and brawl and give Keita the opportunity to get some split decision win, and then people will actually be able to root for him again. But I think it's just got, close fight written all over it just because it's Nathaniel Wood, unfortunately.
Yeah, Keita came in, or was going to come in had he not missed weight. He comes in with a reputation being a champ in another organization. I forget where he comes from. What organization?
KSW or Octagon.
Octagon. Yes, Octagon. That's how I was. Okay, there you go. Yeah, he had a lot of hype coming in off of Octagon. to me, it always, even as a champ in another organization, because of what we've seen with Bellator, it's like a guy. It's like an elevation of the Contender Series. I have to say, or of the mindset that I have about the Contender Series. You've done great things outside of the organization, and that's wonderful. Never going to be able to take that away from you. You can always hang your hat on that. What are you going to do in the big show? We've seen Nathaniel Wood go in there and do exactly what you said, brawl. I mean, this guy, it really is just a devastating fact that Nathaniel Wood does not have the power to actually get knockouts. You know what I mean? Like if he just had knockout power, this dude could be, his whole career could be so much different with the style and the aggression that he has. But that being the case, he will bring the fight to you. And like you said, he makes opponents look better because of how active he is in the fight. So if that ends up being what this is, I think that it's going to be an unfortunate way for this Kaita dude to, gain himself some shine. But these are the dynamics, I guess.
I think it definitely is going to come down to it. Like you said, Nathaniel Wood, or like I said that you said, Nathaniel Wood he's going to get in there and he's going to make you fight, off a lot of instinct. It's not going to be a lot of you setting your game up. This is a good test for Cato to show up to see, one, if he's going to be able to take 3 rounds of potentially an ass whooping. If that's what happens and that comes down to it, because we saw Patchy Mix. I mean, 3 rounds of an ass whooping to Mario Batista. Listen, Nathaniel Wood would have, like, I know it's different weight classes, but like this is a tough 3 rounds if you're not prepared for what Nathaniel Wood can bring. If you get checked once, Morgan Schreier, God, I hate his name because I can't say it so much. Either way, when they got into it, he was willing to step into the fire. Is Keita going to be willing to trade with Nathaniel Wood, even though, like you tried to say, he doesn't have the power? But once you have technical boxing, it's accuracy and a little bit of speed, and Keita, maybe a weight cut is going to be super draining for him. He's confident that he'll never miss again, but maybe he's super drained, and maybe Nathaniel chins him, and then this is the coming out party in London. Nathaniel Wood by KO.
I would be very happy if that's the case. For as much as Nathaniel Wood has done for this sport, I've always said, he is not only a fighter but also a great ambassador for English MMA. So, I got a lot of respect for Nathaniel Wood as a person and as a fighter. I'd like to see better for him. He has to make better for him happen. And if a guy coming in from an outside organization, this is a great opportunity to have that be the case. Be like, look, this guy, you think that this guy, because he got a couple wins in Octagon, is going to come into my house in London and show me what's up? Get out of here with this. Like the narrative writes itself if he can make it happen.
No, absolutely. And I love this comment from CTE. Wood really just goes in there and fight. And like that's one of the biggest compliments that I feel like you can give a guy like this. Is like, dude, you, as somebody who watches the sport, and I watch a lot of fighters, and I watch, trust me, we're about to talk about 2 that I'm going to have to watch that are not Nathaniel Wood. Nathaniel Wood, you truly are one of my favorite fighters, let alone one of the more seasoned veterans that we have in the UFC. I mean, this guy, he's making his own, and I really appreciate Nathaniel Wood. You are a true fighter. Like that's true. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, that to that point of that comment, it really does just go in there and fight. Some of my absolute favorite fighters are that exact type of person, and that's always what I say. My favorite fighters are the dudes who don't talk a lot of shit, that go in there and fight their hardest. That's what I like in guys. And then, if they're a great person on top of that, that's icing on top of the cake already.
Absolutely.
So, and I also love that Jesse Dunaway is here, and he is apparently doing matchmaking. Brother, let me know what organization you are matchmaking for, and I will be trying to watch.
I was going to give the shout out to Jesse because I agree, Jesse. Delgado did beat Nathaniel Wood.
I knew that would probably stick out to you a little bit more, and I know that you've had a lot of thoughts about that fight and how big of a fan you are of Delgado.
It's a banger though. Like you can't really go wrong. Split decision. Mick DeBeck and Rebecki. It's like, dude, split decision. What can you do? The dude's eye was falling out of his fucking head. But either way, same thing. And speaking of exciting fights, again on the opposite end of the spectrum, these are going to be maybe one or if not 2 of the most. I don't know. We're just gonna have to take a look and see what you guys think. We got Brandon Perisic versus Louis Sutherland, guys. Look at this picture. Look at these pictures right here. And what do you guys think?
Every time I see Louis Sutherland, I'm just always drawn to that ridiculous tattoo in the middle of his torso, and I wonder what is going on there. Yeah, Sutherland, a dude who came in, with all of the skills on, as far as commentary was telling us, he's coming in. This guy knows what Walter Walker's going to do. He's trained for all of this. He trains with some of the highest level guys in the world, and then Walter Walker came in and did exactly what he does to him. Perisic, he lost in his debut, or he won in his debut. I'm
I
trying to remember because I remember the name.
I can't really think about it. Chat, you got to help us out real quick. We didn't have this one on hand. I feel like he beat or lost to and he didn't beat him. He lost to Petrino, I think. I want to say.
No, is it? I thought he fought another guy that I think was making his debut. I think that this was the one that was debut and debut, I want to say.
Maybe he's a contender series guy. Yeah, exactly. I don't even know if you want to talk about card is irrelevant. This fight irrelevant. I have no idea who this dude even. I mean, I do, but I couldn't tell you what he did in his last fight.
No, I think that he might have been the one that got the win. It was because it was debut versus debut, not on the contender series. We talked about the fact that it's two heavyweights. This was one when we were doing last week's fights where it was like two gray images and we were like, well, we don't know either of these guys, so we're just gonna have to kind of see. That I think is what happened here. I believe that Brando did win the fight. So I mean, as far as what happens in this fight, maybe Louis Sutherland gets a shot to actually show something because he didn't get to show anything against Waldo. Or no, excuse me, not against Waldo, against Walter. But if Brando comes out here with some big power again, then maybe Louis Sutherland needs to rethink things a little bit more because he's another one of these English guys that, or I believe he's Scottish, but trains with the English, if I'm not mistaken. And he's another one of these dudes that, you might have a good camp around you, but how about you yourself?
Oh goddamn CTE! I love how you did exactly what we asked. I said, elaborate, please get us the facts. What is Brando, excuse me. What is Brando doing? He KO'd Alicia Ellison.
Yes, there
I
you
still
go.
have no idea.
But that's exactly what I was talking about. That was the fight where it was both guys coming in as debutantes. So
Nice. Well, either way, that is our heavyweight matchup for UFC London. I don't know if you guys didn't know, but we are back to the era where we have multiple heavyweight matchups on a card. UFC London, we have Mick Parkin versus Mario Pinto. And if you guys didn't know, a while back, we were running thin. When it came to UFC heavyweight prospects, we didn't have many. There was one left who hadn't shit the bed. Mario Pinto. And this guy right here is my last hope for heavyweight. He truly could be the best because he not only has the charisma when it comes to the mic, he doesn't outwardly like talk a bunch of shit. He's not necessarily too cocky. He's got a lot of size, he's got a lot of skills, but what he has, and I've said this before, and I think you guys are going to see it because I think Mick Parkin is very technical and he's very good on the feet, but I think Mario Pinto has exactly what's going to win this fight, and that is the goofball power. And he has it. He will get this dude down, and Mick Parkin is going to get finished ground and pound right there. Right
yeah,
now.
I mean, goofball, we've said, one of the best bases for MMA. He definitely has, kind of one of those sort of lighthearted attitudes once he's out of the fight. But in the fight, he definitely has power in his hands and uses his kind of awkwardness as an offensive weapon, which is great. Parkin is a dude who he was undefeated for quite a while. And I think that there was a little bit of aura that he was farming off of that. That's no longer the case. So does that change the trajectory? Pinto might be the guy to make sure that that's the case in that.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Mick Parkin robbed Tybura, right? Something like that. Who did he win by split decision that it wasn't supposed to be him winning? I can't.
Yeah, I was it Mo Usman? Did he fight Mo Usman? And that was
Listen,
that.
guys,
I know it's
heavyweights are
heavyweight,
just not
guys.
for us, guys. I'm sorry. Today, I thought they abolished the division at the end of the year. I'm not going to lie. I didn't know we were coming with more heavyweights for 2026.
Luke Thomas recently just said he was like, if the UFC just did away with heavyweight altogether, I'd be like, okay.
We wouldn't notice. We wouldn't actually notice because all the ones that actually wanted to compete, they'd actually cut down to the weight, which would be crazy. We would raise it a little bit, but there would be some heavyweights that got in shape if they couldn't just be slobby at the fucking maximum weight,
True.
But either way, speaking of, again, there's no bridge. We just got more fights on London. So here you go. Shamrock versus Abdul Karim Al Sawadi. What are you thinking here? Shamrock. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh no, I mean, I was just gonna say that they're teeing up Shamrock because they really want him to be something for some reason. He did not look great in his last fight. I mean, he definitely is tough, but the technicality was very, very lacking from what we saw. Al Sawadi is kind of an easy win for a lot of people based on my recollection of him. I think that this is another one of those ones where for some reason they are like Shamrock, whether it's the name or the crazy story. This is the guy that had that weird story about being on the run from the law for a little while and like Thailand and then getting extradited back to England. Like he's got a backstory that I was like, I need to know a little bit more about the details of whatever the hell happened here. But regardless, I think that this is a tee up for him, and I don't get it because we like. If you want to say, oh, we need more English stars, I'm like, we have English stars. Like, I mean, look, I'm shout out to England. I love you guys over there. It's nothing about England that I don't want there to be more English fighters, but I just want them to be of the caliber that we want in the UFC, not just don't just bring over an English guy who has fought a couple of times and then try to create a fighter out of that. Like, have worthy stars. You have a couple of them already. I mean, Luke Riley is also on this card.
Yeah, it's actually even funnier when you talk about all that because you have to consider that he's coming off of a loss already. Like he doesn't even have a fucking W coming into this shit. Like he's coming into they're putting Shamrock in a position to have wins that like not necessarily matter, but that are going to get him to places that matter. But he's already lost. Like we know he's not really that good. And like CTE is talking about, he's allergic to keeping his rear hand up. That is true. He got punched in the face a fuck ton in that fight. So if it's not Al Sawadi, I mean, what was it? Bantamweight? Is this what this is? Do we know?
I want to say featherweight. I think, but
Either way, I think if Shamrock can't get this one done, I mean, it's kind of like set in stone that he should win this fight, to be fair. But if he can't get this one done, like a finish, like 1-1 already that I've seen, and a decision loss or whatever, yeah, it's not looking too great for your new poster child kind of deal.
yeah, I mean, and really, one thing that stuck out to me, like as far as his demeanor goes, is that like after the fight, he was like really upset, and like I think he was upset at himself. But I'm like, bro, this was a 3-round fight, and you were in it for the entirety of it, and maybe like you started to change the tides a little bit in the 3rd round, if I'm recalling the details correctly. But at the same time, it's like, where was that urgency earlier to right the wrongs of what you were doing? Like I think that there was like it was an oddness in the mentality of like, oh man, damn it, this didn't go the way that I thought that it was going to go. And it's like, bro, you had 15 minutes to make that different than what it was. Like I don't know, it stuck out to me as like something that just was a note that I had about him and like his like approach. And I'm like, hopefully he changes that coming into this and gets this done in an emphatic fashion, because like he did show enough to be like, there's something there. It's not like he's like fucking Sakara, who just got cut. I don't know if that's one of the I don't know if I just jumped the gun on a future
All
talking
right, guys.
point,
So the next talking point, real quick, Cicada got removed, and yes, he is not as good as Shamrock, but Shamrock is not as good. Shamrock is on paper as of right now. I mean, obviously, he's not as credentialed as Patchy Mix, but they both had the same flaws in their game, in my opinion. They'd get punched a fuck ton, and they weren't doing shit about it. So, and that's really what it came down to. But either way, we can jump into Cicada real quick. Yes,
I mean,
he
we
is
have
no
to,
longer here.
considering that that tremendously timed yet completely unintentional bridge there. Yes, transition king St. James.
Yes.
But yeah, no. I mean, this was one that is such a long time coming. I mean, that really was the last point when it came to Shamrock. Anyway, go out and beat Al Sawadi. That's about it with that. When it comes to this, this is about as correct as any correct thing has ever been. This guy should have been gone probably 2 fights ago. But now is as good a time as any if it was going to happen, which it already should have. It is crazy to me that they finally do the right thing with Cicada and no word on Tai Tuivasa.
True, yeah, they're holding him in their pocket for another couple weeks to see if they can renegotiate something with him. But no, Cicada, excuse me, very grateful he's out of here. Too bad it kind of happened. His last fight being against Mr. Beast, the Chechnyan Turkish guy, unfortunately doesn't do him any justice. I mean, dude, he's styled out, and I have very high hopes for him being one of the better Chechnyan fighters that we've seen. But Cicada is not really the opponent. I mean, listen, he did exactly what he needed to do. He showed everything he needed to do, but Cicada being the opponent, obviously you have to look at that with a grain of something. So interesting to note that he's up and out of here. Is there any other people on the top of your head that need to be up and out of here at this point?
I know that there was another one that made sense that got removed, but I mean, Ty, yeah, Ty is
Yeah.
really the one that we talked about it on the last episode of last week's fights. I mean, I don't understand. Like, again, it's to say, really, you want to bridge do another little bridge there. I'll bridge it back to what I was talking about with Shamrock. I understand there being a fan favorite element in that, like, when I say that, they're trying to build up Shamrock for the English audience or whatever. Like, Tai Tuivasa built himself up. He did everything right when it comes to becoming a fan favorite. You know what I mean? I get all of that. You have created a groundswell for yourself, and that is admirable. But you cannot sustain that without winning fights. It does not compute. And the point that was brought up to me when talking about this, I think in the Discord, was that, oh well, if he's still putting asses in seats, then it's not going to matter. It's like, that is going to have diminishing returns, first of all, and second of all, like, you're now on, like, I mean, like, okay, if he wants to be just a punching bag, I suppose, but like, to think that that is like something that will carry on indefinitely, like, it never will. Like, there's no way. So either you cut it off now or you cut it off later, but either way you're getting the same result.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really glad that they did it, and I think that's really the only important removal of the time being. I don't know if it matters to you much, but how we have the roster tracker, which is the official one as of right now. I've blocked the roster watch, I believe is the other one.
Oh my
The
gosh, I don't that we could have talked about him this week. Good lord,
we
man.
definitely could have, but there's a thing to notice. This roster tracker page entered an AI video into Elon Musk's fucking
Oh
whatever
wait, are
the
is so both of them are crazy?
I don't know for fact if this one's crazy, but he entered an AI video into a Gronk challenge thing to win money from Elon Musk. And I was like, yo, do your fucking job. What are you out here doing competitions for with AI video? It was weird.
Oh, yeah, I posted it in the Discord, the video that he made. It's Elon Musk as like Neo from the Matrix, and it is about as cringe as
No,
that
no, no.
sounds.
You're talking about. Let me double check here. Let me double check. Go ahead and explain it real quick. Sorry. Go
Well,
ahead.
yeah, I mean, that was really the whole note is just, yeah, I mean, he's using his platform for, this other purpose, because it's like a contest or something that he entered, which is like, I mean, I don't think that that's really all that cool. You have a reason for this account. There's a reason that this account has gotten to the status that it has as far as your following goes, and then to completely pivot, like, it would be one thing if, like, a channel like this, where it's like it's multifaceted, like we do, and I'm not even saying that I would think it would be okay. I think that it would still be very cringe and very like not a right thing to do. Like, it would be like if we started covering cooking randomly all of a sudden, and it's like, well, we got a whole big audience or whatever. Why not? It's like that. That doesn't that's not what you guys are here for. Like, same with these guys over here. It's like, but the difference here is that this is not a personality based channel. This is specifically like, this is almost like a bot, or it should have been a bot, right?
So listen, this is the channel, right? You go through. This is all it is. You should hear me
Yeah,
out.
he was supposed to be the good one.
This is what we're seeing here on this channel. This is what I follow. I blocked the other one because this is the one that produces only this stuff, right? This is all you're seeing is
Yes.
fight news. Then we have Andrei Arlovsky here. Then if you keep going, they enter. Here's my entry. Hold on, they reposted this one. This is theirs though. They have an AI video that they created to enter this fucking competition for the X creators, and I'm like, yo, this is not what you're supposed to be fucking doing.
Yeah, no,
Yo,
but his down there is the one that I think is his. That one. Yeah.
this is the other one. Yeah, this is the other
Oh,
page.
that's yeah, but he's reposting himself there.
This is the other tracker. This is there's tracker and then roster watch.
Right.
Tracker is the one that I'm on right now. That's all these are just
Yeah.
only these. The roster watch is that other crazy one that you're talking about. Yeah, he reposted it.
Oh, yes. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So roster, both of them in cahoots, being idiots. Good lord. I mean, roster watch was the one that, like, he's the one that's like in the X groups, where like he's in those like chat discussion groups, and he's like a flat earther and stuff. This guy is definitely off the rocker. But I thought that yeah, right. Roster watch is the one that I thought it was. But now you're saying that roster tracker is starting to go down this weird road too. It's like, can we just have somebody who could one of these just actually be a bot? This entire internet with dead internet theory and us just, is how much of the internet is bots. I would actually like there to just legitimately be a bot that tells us who is added and who is taken off the roster. And now we've got both these guys doing weird shit.
Yeah, so I definitely don't get it. It is what it is, though. This is the day and age that we're in. What can you say? I don't have another bridge for the other topic, but we can talk about this guy over here. He's from Japan, Horiguchi, Japan.
Yeah, Kyoji Horiguchi.
All right, so he was wanting to step in. He was approached to fill in for UFC Mexico, and he agreed. But he also wanted to fight Amir Al-Bazi first, and then turn around, which sounds cool on paper. Sounds really cool that you told them that, but you can clearly understand that they can't say yes to that. Like, that's not a viable option. Like, yeah, of course you're gonna win. We'll tell the world that you're headlining Mexico,
Right.
even if you lose, and that's not really how that could work. So
Yeah, no, this wasn't going to make sense if he was actually going to take the Albazi fight, which he was already booked for, so it wasn't going to make sense unless they had pulled that and then put him onto that and he didn't want that. I respect him for, making his commitments. If he said he was going to
I
fight
agree.
Albazi, that would, be kind of a shitty thing to do to your opponent to, pull out for a different fight, leave them in the lurch. I mean, I respect the confidence as well. I think it's a legitimate champion's mindset as opposed to Sean O'Malley just saying he has one. Um, Other than that, though, you're right. I mean, it is not. It's certainly not feasible if that was going to legitimately be the way that he thought it was going to go. Even if he wins this fight, which I think he's going to against Albazi, bro, unless you go in there and legitimately just one punch knock him out. I mean, to think that you're not going to have any kind of medical, anything. I mean, like there's too many what ifs.
But yeah, you can read that top comment right there, and it tells you all you need to know about this story. It's like, so you're telling me Horiguchi is cool as fuck, love it. It's like, I mean, sure, if that's what you got out of the story, yes. But if you're me, you look into it and you say, it might have been a stupid thing to say, because like that doesn't even make sense, bro. Like, I know you want to sound hard, but like, damn, it didn't even make sense. Either
It's like in there's I think it was Chris Rock who said one time that like if you say something funny enough, it doesn't even matter if it makes sense, people will still laugh at it. It's like that's almost the MMA version of it's like if you say something that's cool enough that it doesn't even matter if it makes sense.
right,
It's just like yeah,
barking up the
damn.
wrong tree, motherfucker. It's like, all right, I guess he is.
I mean, you didn't have to aura farm for me, Kyoji Horiguchi. I already knew that you had the drip, bro.
True.
You're with it, man. I mean, I've been a Horiguchi fan for a long time. We talked about him a little bit on the last episode of last week's fights. I'm very excited for him to be back in the UFC and getting wins like he did. Exciting win from the last fight. This is going to be great.
Absolutely. And you know what's not going to be great for this next category? Well, not category. Geez, my wording is all over the place. But you know what's all over the place? This guy's health. Shavkat
Ah.
Rakhmonov is now removed from the welterweight rankings because his injuries are just too severe. The latest videos that we saw of him on crutches, hobbling around, I guess the UFC caught wind and said, "Why would we have a hobbled man in our rankings?" So, yeah,
I mean, you're right. Yeah, him being out and about on crutches was certainly not a great look as far as the perception of everything. My bigger note is just a huge congratulations to Colby Covington for moving up in the world because with Shavkat being dropped from the rankings, Colby Covington remains somehow, some way, whatever, like 600 days inactive or without a win, more like 1,000 days or something like that. But either way, when it comes to Shavkat, this is tremendously shitty. And I have said, people talk about Zabit not really being all that, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm not talking about his acumen as a fighter or what he could have been in that regard. But what I say is this is turning into a big what if in the sport. I mean, when you have a guy who has been as good as Shavkat has been in the past, and now they're in a situation where they are sidelined for this long, all of that time where he is in essentially his prime is just falling by the wayside. It's as bad as Tom Aspinall being sidelined by John Jones for, different circumstances, but it's the same basic concept. You're in your prime and you're not able to use it. And that is what we're seeing out of Shavkat, and it's kind of going to go down that way until he's well enough to come back. So I say that to say, get yourself fucking well, Shavkat. What is it going to take?
yeah, absolutely. And I kind of agree with CTE. Shavkat is the real what if. Like for me, I'm not normally a person who does the whole what if thing. Like, in basketball terms, or people would be like Brandon Roy. He's like, oh, he's the what if, kind of deal. And it's like, I never really thought about it like that. But like truly, if Shavkat at 19-0 or whatever the fuck he is, and after he just beat Ian Gary, who I still believe is one of the more elite talents in the fucking organization, he just beat him with no fucking knees. I'm going to tell you right now, That's a what if, brother. Like that dude could like he's already 19 and 0. I mean, obviously, career done. You know, you could end it and be happy, but like for UFC aspirations, like brother, you could have been holding on to that belt, and Islam would have stayed at 155 and got his head knocked off by Ilya, probably. So that's
Could
the
have been.
crazy part.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the what if it abounds now. I mean, and I really hope that that's not how this story ends. You know, I mean, like I want to believe that Shavkat comes back and we find out the unanswered questions with him, but right now, I mean, it's like I think that really what I hate about it the most is that it's not just like one incident that makes it so that he's out for a very, very long time. It's the re-injuring and the extended nature of that. It's like, okay, you've got one injury, 7 months, re-injured or another surgery needed or whatever, another 7 months. It's like you keep having that hope and then that pullback. So really, I mean, like I know that it's not what anybody would want to hear, and certainly not what I would want to have happened. However, I do somewhat understand taking him out of the rankings because until the guy is well enough to fight, if we've already had 2 times of this, you've had 1 and 2 now with oh, I'm going to come back now, I can't, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't keep that as a viable person when you've got other in the most competitive division, you know, other people vying for a top slot in one of the hungriest divisions, if not the hungriest currently.
Yeah. And, you know, it is what it is. You know, unfortunately, that is the name of the game. Not everybody gets to have a lengthy MMA career. Unfortunately, for Shavkat, he is one of the best that we've seen, you know, all around skill wise. I mean, this dude, when you think of a lot of things that he's done, it's been in a short amount of time, really, and he still has a lot to go. I mean, obviously with rehab, and we'll see if he's ever able to recover from it. But as of right now, I'm not saying it's looking too good, but
Yeah, and also
that's just me.
and I did want to bring this up too, just real quick to touch on it. Obviously, he's also had things that have happened in his life that are not directly related to him personally, as far as you know, injuries and stuff like that. Obviously, a very traumatic incident with his wife and child in a car accident. So this guy has had a rough go of it in a lot of ways, and that's another, I think, element of the story that makes it even more unfortunate. You know.
Yeah, 100%. Well, speaking of unfortunate stories,
Before, real quick before you
okay,
move on, let me just also shout out. We got a couple other people that need a shout out right here.
nice.
Davos in the chat.
Yes,
Appreciate you, brother. Good to see you, man. Shout out to Australia. A bunch of our Australians hanging out. And also
thank
Jeremy
you.
Hall bringing up that Glory and PFL are on tomorrow as well. And I had said at the start of this, I will be live for Glory. Just
It
reminding everybody.
Thank you, Jeremy, for letting us know Glory's on. I don't know if
Yes,
anybody needed to know PFL's on because they're probably not tuning in. But thank you for letting us know, Jeremy. I appreciate you. But
absolutely.
I'm gonna show you the next thing, and it's a multiple parts. So we're gonna focus on the first part. We're gonna talk about this, and then we'll move on to how the story unfolds. So
Got it.
the story starts out. Asu Almabayev is out for unknown reasons. UFC Mexico main event fight against Brandon Moreno off. What do you think? What's your thoughts there?
Sucks. I really wanted to see this fight. I was very excited about this fight. I've been a fan of Asu for quite a while. I think that aside from the bum issue in the Manel Cop fight, which had its own circumstances, whatever. Manel, you know, I mean, Manel's a good fighter on top of the dirtiness, so it's like it could have still gone that way, but little asterisks on that one. I think that Asu brings a lot of great things to the table. One of the greatest gas tanks in a division with the greatest gas tanks in the sport. I'm a fan of the guy. Brendan Moreno, one of my favorite fighters of all time, I would say at this point, at least somewhere on that list. I really wanted to see this, and I'm very unhappy about that.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't know what the cause of the pullout was. It sucks though. Asu Amabayev. I mean, this would have been a good matchup for him. You know, I would have liked to see him go against somebody as seasoned as Brandon Moreno, who could offer as many things as Brandon Moreno. Because you know, when it comes to Manel Cap, you have the striking to worry about, and then you know he's going to stuff your takedowns. But when it comes to Brandon Moreno, he truly is going to offer you something, whether you're in opposition or your offense or defense, he's going to have something that makes you have to work for it, you know?
Yeah.
So it just sucks that this matchup is not going to happen. But again, I would really like to know what happened to Asu because, again, when you're just in camp and you just get injured, like questions got to be raised. Like, how are you just hurt? Like, how do you just hurt
Well,
yourself like bad? Like,
I
so
mean, CTE kind of raising an issue that how much stock do you put into this? Silent pullout might mean he popped. I mean, I think that what I will say to it, and I'll let you give your answer as well, Chase. I think that had he popped, that would have been the headline.
True, I kind of agree with that, but maybe not because this is still somebody who has stock in the organization. They can't ruin his image because, but I mean,
No,
obviously
if he popped and then they tried to cover it or like just downplay it, that could
that's
be
not how
its
they
own.
do it. That's not how they do it now. They just pull him from the fight, and then they tell us 4 months later that they popped, and we're just supposed to live with it, or they can
Mm,
let them fight, and then we find out 4 months later because they test them after the fucking fact,
yeah,
something
yeah.
stupid like that. We've seen it happen before. So whatever the case may
Mm,
be, whenever we find out what the reasoning is,
wow.
I'm gonna be interested, I'll tell you that.
Fair enough. All right, but well, I mean, what's your thought though? Do you think that he might have?
I don't think so, not gonna lie. No, I'm not.
He
Hmm.
doesn't strike me as the type of fighter that would,
It's
but
the region, that's why.
that certainly that, and yeah, I mean that definitely plays a part in it. Um, yeah, 50-50, I suppose, but like my gut says no. If it comes out and that's the case, then my perception of him will instantly change.
Yeah, well, speaking of, the pullout of this fight, obviously the next layer to this story is what happens next, where the main event is actually booked. Asuan Babayev is out. Brandon Moreno is now going to take on Lonnie Kavanaugh, UFC Mexico, and 5 rounds still. Lonnie's ready to go for 5 rounds. Flyweight main event. What are you thinking about this now?
I think Lonnie is a talented up and comer. I think that he is a guy that has a lot of great attributes. I think we've seen good things out of him, and he is a tough customer in general. I think he well-rounded is what I would say. Striking is really nice. That being said, I think this is way too much too soon for him. I think that this is going to be a very unfortunate outcome for him. I think Brandon Moreno is going to be able to do what he does best against a guy like Lonnie Kavanaugh. I think that this is going to be another one that will smack of the Amir Albazi fight, and Brandon Moreno is going to be able to do almost anything that he wants.
Well, see, there's obviously when you see this, there's a way to think, and it's like, okay, let's think about how the matchup goes, and then you break it down. Yes, but like you have to think a little deeper. How did this fight actually come about? Lonnie Kavanaugh just lost his last fight by knockout. He gets a main event spot. It's a fucking debut fight, wasn't it? Like what the or well, it wasn't his debut, his
No,
second
yeah,
fight in the organization, but you know what I mean. But like
sure.
5 round main event, maybe co-main event, if you're pulling teeth here, but like main event, 5 rounds, give it to him right here, right now. He just lost to Charles Johnson. What do you have to
I
say for it?
he picked up the phone is what I have to say for it. I mean, this is a short notice dealie. I mean, this is coming up later this month. I mean, so it's I mean that's not that short, but still, it's got to be a guy close enough in the top. We've got a lot of gridlock at the top of the division as far as what needs to happen with with Josh Van and the rematch, and then anything underneath that is kind of like keeping that layer all sort of like set in stone. I mean, this is not dissimilar to me as when Tatsuro Taira fought Peace of Mind. I forget what his actual name is, but the dude, Park, I believe is his name.
Oh,
Uh,
gotcha. Yes.
the guy, he came up. It was quite obviously something we found out he was very mismatched for. And this is just kind of how it goes sometimes. So yeah, I mean, that is what it seems like to me. It is a little odd considering that this is, I mean, anytime that they do a Mexico card, it's a big deal. They're very adamant about wanting to, court the Mexican fan base, a lot of Mexican fighters and fight fans. Lonnie Kavanaugh does not seem the caliber yet as far as where he is in his career, regardless of his fighting ability, just, star power. He does not have that yet. So that I will say is a little bit out of place with this, but beggars can't be choosers, I guess, when you've got 21 days to go.
Well, and then obviously you have to note here, Alex Perez did get the call,
Uh,
but he was not going to be able to make the weight, which fair. I mean, we're going to talk about this here in a little bit, but being able to admit that you ain't gonna make that fucking weight, dude. I mean, listen, it ain't the best decision business wise, but like if you're like you gotta own up to your shit sometimes, bro. If you're fat, you're fat. Like, bro, if you can't make the weight, don't take the call. You're taking opportunities from other people, and we will talk about this here in a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll save it. I'll save my comment for when we get to what we're gonna get to. But I certainly do have a comment for it. However, that I'll leave it for that. I will agree with you that I do like the idea that if you have resigned yourself to not being able to make the weight, then it is disrespectful to other fighters if you go ahead and do it anyway. So I like that line of thinking, but I don't necessarily jive it based on what we're going to be talking about in a few moments here.
Yeah, well, so let me see. So the next part of this story, which was definitely interesting. So if you didn't know that Lonnie Kavanaugh was booked before this happened, before he moved into the main event, he was booked to fight Bruno Silva, and there was a lot of people wondering how this could happen because the next thing that happens is Charles Johnson gets booked against Bruno Silva in the replacement for Lonnie Kavanaugh, which everybody seemed to be mad about this. The guy who knocked out Lonnie Kavanaugh is now fighting under him on a Vegas fucking Apex card, the week before or the week 2 weeks after, whatever it is. Lonnie Kavanaugh gets a main event after just getting smoked by Charles Johnson in the third round. It was a good first two, but that's not a full fight, He got knocked unconscious. So what are your thoughts here? I mean, Charles, why didn't he get the call?
Because he just got knocked unconscious really bad by Alex Perez. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, I would think. I mean, Charles Johnson, unfortunately, like I'm such a fan of the guy, and I'm a fan of the fact that he really is like a go guy when it comes to taking fights, being active in the fights. Like he is a fighter's fighter, in my opinion, as far as like his approach to the game. His kind of attitude on Twitter is a little bit of a secondary thing there. But as far as just, go in there, get the bag, take the fights, fight as hard as you can. I like that aspect of it. It just unfortunately is not always paired with the wins. And that's the problem when it comes to him. Like, he's so go. I had said a while back, I was like, him slowing down a little bit has helped him, like he's not taking every single fight that comes his way, giving himself a little bit of time to recover, whatever, but then he still loses. That's where now we have a little bit of a problem. So, yeah, I mean, that's how I would answer that question that you just posed. Why is Lonnie in the main event? I mean, I think it is a little strange coming off of a loss and going to a main event against a former champion. I mean, I don't think that all of that jives correctly, but him being in this fight, I think that that's at least the answer there.
Yeah, I definitely agree, but it is just wonky things that are going on, things that we must note. Going into this next week, there's some other things that we need to wrap up, of course. Excuse me, I am having some horrible issues today, guys. But you know who's going to be having horrible issues this week? Not me, because this next guy, we're going to talk about it. First off, let's actually take note here because I did not notice this. Blonde goatee.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Wow. I did not notice that until you just said it. And that is now I can't unsee it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's hop up in here.
It's
Everybody.
quite a choice.
It's a minute long, so I apologize if it runs a little bit and if he's not talking about shit. He might waffle.
Okay.
I think I need just to fix about my wings. I weigh so much. I like it 23 up on the division. I need to lose 23, 24 kilos, so I cannot fight often. I need to lose a lot of kilos, but I used to do that. But it is tough to me. I don't know how many times I'm going to stand in this division. So I got a plan to get the belt faster, then move on. Move on my division because I think it's not healthy to the body, lose a lot of pounds. I usually lose from the beginning of my camp like 24, 23 kilos to fight, and that's too much. And I feel really tired, I feel sick. But now, this time, I did some different things in my health, in my foods. I put out the sugar, so I think it's making me better than the last cutting weight. So but the suffering is the same. On tomorrow, on Wednesday, I need to lose like 6 or 7 kilos.
Okay.
Yeah, this is absolutely insane. And we'll talk about the rest of the weight stuff, I'm sure, in a moment here with this card that we have coming up in just a few hours' time. But so, I mean, I guess I can't not talk about it when it comes to him. He had to lose 30 pounds in 1 week, and he did it. I was floored by this. Obviously, what he's saying in here about moving stuff, we can talk about that as well. But I do want to backtrack just briefly to say 14 days time, 17 days time or whatever until the Moreno fight, and Alex Perez could not make the weight for it. I'm just saying, if this guy can do 30 fucking pounds in a week. I mean, everybody's body's different, whatever. Alex Perez missed weight in his last fight when he got the knockout against CJ. Guy has a little bit of an issue there, it would seem, is all I'm saying. But when it comes to him, this is wild he was able to make the weight.
Well, I think it's just wild that he starts off by saying, I cut all this weight. First off, he's like extremely drained already in this video. Like, this is
Sure.
somebody who is just clearly needs fucking water. But he's in there and he's like, I don't think, draining all that weight is very healthy for your body. But his plan is to drain all that weight and go become champion and then go
Faster.
move up. Yes, yes, very quick, very quickly. That's a very good idea. Obviously, on paper, it sounds nice, but once again, I mean, you gotta live up to the potential. You can't just keep talking about it. Obviously he's doing great, but like becoming champ quickly and then moving on to a new division it's not just like, come on, like you got to have more realistic takes than I'm going to drain myself 50 pounds for this fight week every fucking time. Just 4 times though, I'll be champ and then I'm out and then I'm out and then I'll be more healthy. He said he cut out the sugars. Mate, you look like you need a little sugar in this video here. Seriously. Probably shouldn't cut that out. But
yeah, no. I mean, to think that he still had 7 pounds to go or something, whatever it ended up being. He said he was like, by tomorrow I still have X amount that I need to lose. It's like, Jesus Christ. And the guy to do it, I'm like, I got to give credit where credit is due. I'm not a huge fan of the guy, but I do have to very much respect the hustle on being able to get the weight down, because that is an insane feat.
Yeah, definitely not as healthy as it seems. Well, I guess it doesn't seem at all, but he probably should not be doing that. And he made weight, so shout out to him. But it's only like he said, he feels weak. He feels weaker. He's all cutting all this weight. So when he gets into fight night, there's going to be a time where it adds up.
He's
I don't
very
know.
lucky that he didn't have a Cameron Smotherman situation.
True. I mean, you're not wrong. But either way, a lot of the crazy things happen in this sport. We got a lot of different things that go on, and this last couple things that we'll not last couple, but we'll run through these last couple things. Saeed Nurmagomedov is out. Javid Basharat is now going to take on Gianni Vasquez. And why this is important is because people are like, who is this Vasquez guy? Who is this? What has he done? How is he going to step up, right? Well, what he did do is not make weight. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But can anybody really blame him specifically? I mean, we talked about just a minute ago, missing weight when saying you could make it, taking an opportunity away from somebody who could make it. But again, it's on days' notice, guys. Can you blame somebody for missing weight when they took the call on days' notice? Like, let's be real.
I mean, I'm not overly mad about that specific part of it, but I would just like it to be made into a catch weight if that's the case. Like, if the guy is coming in, he's taking the call when no one else would, or the circumstances are such they really need a guy like that, then don't ding him for missing weight. Just make it a catch weight. I mean, like, I think, like, I don't like the perception of what it says when fighters missing weight is a big problem in my opinion. That's one of the things you have to do to be a professional in this sport is make your weight. So I don't like it being thrust on him that it's like, oh, you missed weight. No, I didn't miss weight. I picked up the phone when you called me with X days notice, however many days it was, and I'm coming to do the fight. Like, just meet me halfway is what I guess what I would say if I was him.
Yeah, first I'll actually shout out Sarah Toby in the chat. We'll go ahead and give a real big shout out over there. But
Always.
yeah, I definitely agree. At this point, if you call up on days' notice, like, I get you have a fighter who's mid-cut and you want him to, fulfill his duties. He's going to make weight because that's what he signed up to do. He signed the contract to make that weight. That's what he wants to do. But at a certain point, 2 days out, you call Basharat and you say, listen, brother, just make 40, call it a day. We're going to get somebody on 2 days' notice. He says he can make the weight, but we told him 40 is cool to catch weight. Whatever you want to say. It could be easier, but no, they brought this dude in. And yeah, they were watching him sweat every drop out. And when it didn't come out, they said, listen, buddy, 25%. 25%. We already paid you 12,000. Now you're getting 9. So what are you doing?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's it also because, I mean, this is his debut, right? I mean, like, yeah. So, I mean, he's coming in from outside of the organization. I guess they could say, oh, that's the reward in and of itself. You don't have to go through the Contender Series. You get to skip the line, so to speak, against, a Basharat. That's not nothing, I guess. However you you feel about this specific Basharat. But either way, I mean, like to have those elements in place and then be like, you're the one that is wrong for how this all turned out. It just seems like a bum rap, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And here's actually the number. Sorry, he was over by 5 pounds. So yes, 141 is what he made.
Yeah, and I
Why he
mean,
couldn't have been there.
yeah, 5 pounds is an egregious weight miss, but under the circumstances for this specific fight, I think that there's a there, you know, there I definitely feel some sympathy for him on that, and I really just like again, I just wish they would have just made it a catch weight, call it a day, and then you know, like it doesn't none of the there doesn't have to be any of these problems or whatever, you know what I mean? Just you turn it into a catch weight, no problems at all.
100%, yeah. And so obviously, when it comes to missing weight, Gianni was not the only one, which is actually crazy to say because the dude who was on short notice, 5 pounds is a lot, but there was other people who missed by 5 pounds, and they were there the entire fucking time, you know. So
And that
we'll
is
get into it.
yes.
So
Yeah.
Gianni missed 5 by 5 pounds. Muin Gafurov also missed bantamweight by 5 pounds, which is nuts. There was actually shout out Tosh in the Discord, just whatever. He made a comment that don't be surprised if they switch and do the catch weights between Gafurov and Gianni and then do Basharat versus Wilklax. And I
I
actually thought that might be a fire idea.
That's a fun dude. I mean, what we saw with Hamzat
Nate
and
Diaz.
Nate Diaz and Kevin Holland, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Like, absolutely do that. That's a fine idea. I like that a lot, especially considering that, like you said, Gafurov has no excuse for an egregious weight miss. Five
Yeah,
pounds is a lot of weight if there are, especially if there are no other circumstances. Even with there being no other circumstances, it's like, it's still a lot. But either way, Muin Gafurov, this fucking guy. It's like I've always had a bit of an issue with him, and he keeps coming up in different ways. And now this is yet another thing that you can add to that equation. All of what I said on the podcast still stands about this guy, plus a weight miss like this. Do not let this change your thought or color your vision, people. If Muin Gafurov wins this fight with a 5 pound advantage, it is not going to be because he is the better fighter.
true. I 100% believe that. But what I will say about the other two that missed weight here, so you have Wang Tong and Eduarda Moira. They both missed by 1.5. And what I will say here is I don't know what happened for Miss Wang Tong to miss. I don't know what happened here. Eduarda Moira does not surprise me. She's always been bigger and she has a horrible gas tank. She does somehow look like Charles Oliveira here. Does anybody else see this? So I think that is key to note. But there must have been something wrong. I kind of believe her. Look at her face here. I believe that she thought she made it. Something was wrong with the scale here. 1.5 for both of them is crazy. Like, how'd that happen? You
She
know?
looks like a villain in a modern Batman movie in that picture. She looks like she could be like in the Penguin universe, the Batman
I'll actually
universe.
tell you what she looks like, and because you're close, but you're not right on the cigar. If you've ever seen the Catwoman movie, she looks like the villain from
There
that.
you
That's
go.
the exact hair color from Catwoman. Holly
Bingo.
Berry, shout out. If you guys didn't know, we did a review of a movie that Holly Berry was in. It is called Bruised. It is on Netflix. Make sure to tune in because we talked for a while.
We did, and
did.
Catwoman was referenced in that review as well. So
Absolutely, and we did see side boob in there. So make sure you guys get to hear us talk about Holly Berry's side boob in her weird side annex portion where a kid's taking photos of her. It's a weird movie, guys. Make sure you check it out.
yeah, it's certainly one of the more interesting ones we've done so far. But yeah, as far as these weight misses go, like you said, Moira, you're pretty much on the money there. I mean, her being a bigger, kind of clunkier fighter, I think that missing weight is not out of left field, even though it is her first miss, I believe, in the organization. Is it not?
I don't think so.
Oh, she's missed before.
I'm
Oh,
I
well,
would
then that
think
does.
I missed before.
I mean, I double check that, keep us honest. But if if she's having multiple weight miss problems, then there's a bigger problem at hand. And that I've never really been sold on her skill set to begin with. So this does not bode well for her as far as my perception going forward. Anyway, is she going to win this fight? I took her to win it. So I mean, does this just play right into that? Sure. Great. And I'll get a nice little bump on our Excel spreadsheet of our wins and losses, but I don't like that where she's trending with all of that. Wang Tong is a little bit of a different story, though. She's such a slender fighter to begin with that it's a little bit strange to me that she would be missing weight by 1.5 pounds, but maybe there's something that we don't know there. That's one of those things that I guess is going to be an interesting point later on, is if some information comes out that we don't know.
Absolutely. And so as of right now, since we do know that the bout has changed, I'm going to go ahead and update the Excel. This was good that we
Well,
get to
thank
do this
you.
on here. So we're going to remove Saeed. He's just not even going to be on the thing. It's not going to be a canceled bout.
Well, while you do that, let me shout out to
Yes.
Naveed Ahmed, who's asking us, do we think that Michael Morales has a chance of pulling off the greatest upset in UFC history? I mean, does he have a chance? I would say he has a chance. Is it going to happen? That is a big ask with who he'd be fighting.
He's definitely going to be fighting one of the greatest fighters of all time. And you're asking a lot for somebody who's just a striker. I know he's able to defend takedowns, but you're asking somebody to beat a complete fighter with one aspect of the game. And I think, yes, it is very possible because the fights start on the feet. Michael Morales has a lot of power. He could definitely have an upset in the way that he could knock anybody out. But Islam has definitely proven that he's not going to put his chin in the way to get kind of rocked by this dude early. He's just going to go for these takedowns, and he's going to get his very boring win. I mean, everybody calls it boring, but it wasn't boring to me. But that's what the conclusion would be.
I mean, and that's just that's recency involved there when it comes to the last fight. I mean, again, think about what you've seen out of Islam in his previous fights, granted in a different weight class, but either way, I mean, you don't think that Islam Makhachev has faced guys with crazy power, crazy scary power before? I mean, like, this is
Dustin has
not.
knocked plenty of people out.
I mean, this is what I'm talking about. There's plenty of times where he's been against guys who should have taken his head clean off of his shoulders and he figured out the way. So, I mean, is it possible? He has gotten caught one time, very long time ago now. So I say that to say, is it possible? Of course. Yeah, it's possible. But I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I mean, I did not know Ecuador national wrestling champ, judo background. I do respect the credentials there, but I'm just saying it's going to be hard for me to believe that you can beat the dude who's the best at it. But before we continue that,
Yes.
so official picks, we're going to both go Basharat, right? We're not no neither of us are taking Gianni.
Oh, for the updated
Yes,
spreadsheet. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think
Okay.
that's
Just to
that's
make
the
it,
wiser
yes,
call.
make sure to
Yeah.
get that out the way.
I
So we'll go
appreciate us
ahead and
doing this update. This will be one of the times that we have the ability to, which is nice.
I am also agreeing, but just so everybody is aware, I know we talked about some weight misses and we talked about a lot of different things. There are no fights being canceled. UFC Vegas 113 all set to go. So
You know,
we're locked in, everybody.
you love to see it with the ridiculous weight misses that they're just like, 5 pounds, go have fun, guys.
Well, and so no fights are being canceled, but one specifically may or may not need to be canceled because here is a picture of Priscilla Cachoeira with, if you can't see it too bad in this picture right here, you might be able to see this crater right here on her elbow. Yeah, she looks like she's recovering from something here. So what would you guys like to think about that?
I say that her elbow looks a whole lot like Justin Gaethje's neck right now. Um, Now Justin Gaethje came out and made it work. So I mean, I don't know if this necessarily means that she's going to be compromised, but that is about as healing staph infection as healing staph infection gets right there.
Yeah, and I'm Zombie Girl. I give her one good round. I'll tell you that she's gonna go out there and give one good round. Probably get finished in round two, but it's not gonna be like a finish. She'll probably just be exhausted and just get popped, and then just lay there for a little bit.
Well, and what I say about staff and Justin Gaethje, actually, and I'm bringing it up again, but he is one of the few people that I think has bucked it in a minor way, because he did still have a little bit of a tank issue towards the end of that fight, which is crazy. That was a 5-rounder. That dude fighting through the opposite side of staph infection and making it as tremendously as he did through 5 rounds. I think that goes back to your point about it, which I thought was a great point. Him having such a performance under those circumstances, very commendable. The thing about staph, though, is that it cuts two directions as far as why it affects the fighters so much. Not only is it it's dangerous to the other fighter as well via contact, but it's a drain on their gas tank. It's a battery drain for them in the fight, and it also affects the training all the way up into the fight. Like, you know,
Mhm.
if you have a staph infection that you're dealing with that's already zapping you throughout your entire camp, you're not going to be training as effectively as you would be without it. So like you're getting hit on the front end and you're getting hit on the back end in the fight as well. So tough situation for any of these fighters coming in with staph. This is not a great look for her. She is fighting Claudia Segula though, so I think maybe she'll be all right personally.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. But speaking of great looks, I wanna know your opinion on this one right here. This is maybe not the best look. I personally don't really think I take too much into account of what is being said here, but Dana White has recently testified in the UFC antitrust lawsuit that he is no longer directly involved in the UFC matchmaking for or fighter contract negotiations. Quote, less than zero. You won't find one manager on this planet who will tell you I've negotiated a deal and I don't know how long. And that's what he said when he was asked about his involvement in fighter contracts. Thinker, go for it.
Yeah, taking one step back from the actual comment, I'd like to find out all of what was publicly made available when it comes to all of this. You know, I'm very interested in the legal aspects of everything going on with the antitrust and that element of the sport, the business side of the sport, something I keep a close eye on. So hopefully I'm going to be able to find out a lot of information on this, and maybe some point I'll do some kind of content around that. As far as this comment specifically goes, though, I'm actually not that upset by this. I think that Dana it kind of touches on something that I talked about in my most recent video. If you saw the video that I did about the UFC, Joe Rogan, and the Epstein files, there's a whole lot of information in there. But one thing that I had said is that Dana is pulled in a lot of directions right now. We've got UFC, of course. We've got Zuffa Boxing. We've got his involvement with Meta. We've got his, all manner of different other business enterprises that we don't even necessarily know about. He is spreading himself very thin. I think it's actually appropriate for there to be more people involved in some of these types of aspects of the decision making in this organization, aside from like really think about how small the organization is as you know it. Now, I'm not talking about, the graphic designers and the production assistants and all of that. Who are the decision makers? Dana, Hunter, Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard.
Yep.
That's about it. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously there are other people that are not as public figures. But my point is, this is a very small nucleus, so to speak, of decision-making apparati when it comes to this organization. I think that there is nothing wrong with Dana taking a little bit of a step back in certain regards, and this being one of them. Hunter Campbell doing the negotiation. If I'm assuming Hunter Campbell is probably the one doing the negotiations, there's nothing at all wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Me personally, it is Hunter, of course, and then I think it also is Mick. I think they're kind of, and I've said this before, I think they're at a place where it's like Dana sits at the end of the table and they say, I got a fighter, I got a fighter. And they kind of go head to head of who's kind of, going to pick the better prospect of the two. And it's kind of just like they're trying to, in that way, that's how they kiss the boss, kiss the boss's ass. I get the best fighter out there for you, and then I'm going to be in charge when you leave, kind of deal. So I kind of like it. When you watch Contender Series, you do get a vibe of like that's what they're doing, because they'll play a promo and you got Hunter and he's like, man, this guy's a fucking animal. I was watching him down in Peru, and then you get a video of fucking McMahon and he's like, no, I was watching this guy over here in Russia and he was doing and then they fight, and then I don't think this is a bad thing. Obviously, you would want one person at the head, at the helm of the ship, but in a way every corporate conglomerate group is just a board of directors at this point. That's all they are. The people in the war room, Mick, Hunter, Dana, and whatever the fuck, Shelby.
Sean, yeah.
It's fine. I don't think this is a bad thing. And even if you want to nitpick, you won't find one manager on this planet who will tell you I've negotiated the deal and how long. I mean, maybe he's being selective about what he's saying there, So
Well,
there's
I believe
another.
that this is under oath, so I hope that he's not.
Well, no, but like you can tell the truth, but not necessarily tell the whole truth. Maybe no managers are out there are going to tell you this, but there's other avenues that would say that you're doing
Yeah,
some
I
sort of
mean,
negotiations for the
it's
fight.
kind of a good point. That like it's like regardless of whether he's directly involved in any specific element of that portion of things, to think that Dana's not pulling every string there around is kind of naive, I would say. I'm sure that he's as involved as he needs to be, and really he should have a team that is able to pull all of this off regardless. So
Right.
yeah, makes sense.
Well, and it's actually to the point where the UFC is, the gears are turning. He can step away and he's got his core group that he can, rely on to work the machine for him.
Yeah.
And he's going to try to go do Zuffa and power slap, but whatever the case may be. Again, I don't think this is the worst thing ever because up until now, if Dana is saying that for the last however long he hasn't been in the mix, guys, it ain't even been that bad. Like we've been all right, so it's cool.
Yeah, and I mean, if that's the like intention of like, I'm not saying that I'm not trying to put this on champion rounds or anything
Yeah.
like that. Saying that this is like them trying to say, oh, Dana's not, feeding into that narrative that Dana's like, kind of checked out or whatever. I don't think that this accomplishes that. You know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of other things that you can pick out to be like, that's the reason that Dana's not as involved, or that's the tell that Dana's not as involved. But I don't think this is it.
Well, I can tell you the thing that's got Dana so wrapped up in everything else, other than a court case, it's this damn White House, guys. It's this damn White House card, and I don't know if you knew, but there's going to be approximately 6 to 7 fights on the White House card. Now, again, we go back to just a couple shows ago where we were talking about the length and runtime of some of these events. Here you are, guys. Here's your first experience of a 4 or 5 hour UFC card kind of deal, and that it's going to be, there are 5 title fights or whatever the fuck they're about to do. Whatever the case may be, it's going to be a little shortened. It's going to be a little streamlined. And again, on the White House lawn. So what are your thoughts one more time, Thinker?
I mean, is this a problem to people? I mean, this is a special engagement. I mean, like, this is not your standard card at an arena or in the Apex. Like, if it is 6 or 7 fights, I don't see a problem with that. Plus, when it comes to an event of this type and the uniqueness of this event, I would suspect you're going to be getting a ton of additional content, quote unquote. Take that as
Pageantry.
yes, certainly pageantry, but also like I said, I'll use the word content. I won't use the word propaganda. But
Gotcha.
I think that that I think that there's going to be a lot of America messaging and those kinds of things. However that all manifests itself. It's actually to that point. It's going to be very interesting to me to see just how much the administration is involved with any of the presentation of stuff. They've been pretty hands off as far as it has seemed so far. We did find out recently that the UFC is paying for the entirety of this. The taxpayers are not paying anything, which I thought was very great. Very happy about that element of all of this. So that being said, though, obviously we know that the president and Dana are very close. Dana, a big supporter of the administration beyond just the president. So it will be interesting to see how that all plays out. But as far as there being 6 or 7 fights on this card, fine. Like, what's the problem?
No, I don't think there was a problem. Nobody ever has outward said anything about that to me personally. Maybe there's some niche people out there who are, irate that this is not a 15 card, experience. But 6 or 7 is fine to me. I don't know of anybody that has actually complained about it, but there might be. Now, would I say this is awesome? Happy do 6, 7 title fights? Sure. I mean,
Well,
again,
you're
if I'm
assuming
wrong-
that they're all going to be title fights. I don't think that
I
they
mean,
are.
that's what they've been saying. They've
Yeah,
been
that's been
saying,
rumored. Yeah, I know people. I'm not buying anything until I get an. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Same deal.
But either way, we're on the White House lawn, and it's going to be really, really fun. And the idea that the UFC is doing something that no other major sporting event is willing to attempt, it is saying something that we're in a good point in the sport because this is a revolutionary time. We're going to be on the grand stage. The president is going to be watching from a lawn chair, the sport that we watch every Saturday.
Well, and I was going to say, I mean, talking about the length of the card, you got to account for the fact that they're going to be walking out from the Oval Office. So, I mean, this is going to be a long walkout. There's going to be a lot of footage and stuff to get these fights to just happen in the first place. So, 6, 7 fights over the course of the entirety of the broadcast, there's probably going to be a lot of extracurricular elements of all of this.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Well, speaking of extracurriculars, we're going to talk about our last topic. So, everybody in the chat, if you're still here, make sure you go ahead and get all of your last topics that we're going to talk about and make sure you have them ready.
Yeah,
Because,
if you got anything else that you'd like to talk about that we have not discussed already, let us know in the chat now, and we'll come to it at the end of the show here.
hell yeah. So, extracurriculars, we obviously had a field trip for our lightweight champion. He went on a little bit of a case, and it's been dismissed. You know, the wife has settled, and they've reached an agreement. Of course, it is money. When is it ever other than money? But you know, here we are. Ilya can finally get back to fighting in the UFC.
I want to say that I'm very glad that you brought this here, Chase. You know, I covered this subject in video form, and in that video, I was very, very specific to say that until we find out what happens in these trials, I'm going to withhold judgment. Right now that we have seen that the case that was brought against Ilia Topuria was dismissed outright. After knowing the details that led up to this case, those details being that Ilya gave in apparently to all of the demands that were made of him, and this woman that he was married to still brought this case. And that case was thrown out with all of the proof, at least that was purported to be existing, that Ilya had on his side. If those are the dynamics as I understand them to be, then this fucking woman deserves to be prosecuted in some way because she was bringing abuse allegations against this man. And I've covered this so many times on the channel. Abuse allegations against Alex Pereira, the whole Connor situation, a little bit different with all of that, but you know, some elements of that in there. We've heard allegations upon allegations. How many times, how many different ways can you hear allegations being brought against someone? And what happens when those are proven to be false? They just poof and go away, and nothing ever happens to the the accusers, the false accusers, and that is criminal to me. This is absolutely an example of something that needs to have legitimate repercussions.
Well, and you know what the sad part is you say poof and they're gone. No, you know what's crazy? What they get to do is they get to take millions of dollars and go start a new life. Yeah.
Well,
And they
that
didn't
yeah,
really they didn't get to do shit about it either. And that's the crazy part is at the end of the day, the agreement is Ilya pays you to leave him alone. And that's what the case comes out to be.
no, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's on top of it. How crazy, you know, add that element, what you just said, into the already. She could have already had that without any of the allegations. That aspect of it is its own ball of wax, and that gets into a little bit, you know, manosphere territory with alimony and all that kind of stuff. But still, there's some legitimacy to it as well. The legal system. We were just talking about the legal system a whole hell of a lot on a live stream that I did about Derek Moneyberg. If you want to check that out, go ahead and do so. You'll see me crashing out in a major way at certain points. But that being said, yeah, that's already a problem in and of itself. But this, why I'm so harping on this specifically is that this is a criminal accusation that she made. If he was domestically abusing her, that goes outside of the civil aspects of you know, your property and your assets and all of those kinds of things. That takes it into a different ballpark. And now that just gets to dissolve into the ether. And what you said, you know, it dissolves into the ether, these criminal accusations, plus you get to take a huge chunk of his money. I cannot, I can't rationalize this and make this okay.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It's unfortunate, but you know, the only thing that we can do is look at the positives. It's all behind us now. Shout out to Ilya for being honestly being a man about it. You know, you got to man up, and unfortunately, these things happen. This is the Nelk boys tried to tell you, man. That's all that. Listen, get back in the cage and come out here and start knocking some heads off again, dude. I'm ready for it. That's all what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Aside from getting involved this deeply with this type of a person, other than that, Ilya could not have handled this better. Again, I implore you, if you don't know what all of the details of what I'm talking about, to go watch the video that I did about this, because I go into, you know, the details of everything as we had known them to be, all of the facts of the case that were reported by Spanish media and everything. Like, it's a decently researched video with all of the elements here. And if you trace the history to where we are now and everything that Ilya did leading up to this point, he handled this as well as anyone could and had the receipts to back up the claims he was making. And that is why this case got dismissed. I would assume, you know, I mean, I think that's, you know, most likely how this all played out, without knowing exactly 100% on that portion of it. But if the thought process is correct, he had everything he needed to do. He tried to take care of her as best as he could before all of this went down. She still did this, and now he came out on top. So I'm so happy that this worked out this this way for Ilya. And, I think that he should be an example to a lot of people. Always make sure that you're covering your bases when it comes to life, because you never know where the knife is going to come from. And B, don't get involved with this type of a person in the first place. I know it's hard to tell, and love can be blinding, but you got to really, really know who you're getting in bed with, quite literally.
Yeah, it is what it is, but like I'm very hopeful for is that Ilya is going to come return to this cage and he's going to be just as good as he once left and step
He
up
will
to
be.
welterweight, I think. I think
Oh,
that's what's coming next.
well, that's going to be the big question, right? I mean, is he actually going to make is Islam really the white whale for him, as it would seem to be? And if that is the case, then there's no running Islam Makhachev. And I hate to say that, because we literally were just talking about how I've said many times, I think Islam is pound for pound the best fighter on the planet, and I would say one of the best fighters ever to live. But that does not deny what you have brought up in a very eloquent way in the past, that you can't deny the fact that Islam, had a big backpack on his back watching Ilya's last fight. It's
Yep.
like, hey, well, I mean, he's going to go out and get, people, put them to sleep. He's going to get them in this compromised position. I'm going to pack my things and leave. So if he comes after you at this point, where are you going to go?
Exactly. So it's going to be an interesting time. I'm excited to see Ilya come back. Obviously, he's coming back for this White House, and this is perfect timing. Maybe even, listen, I'm not going to make no allegations. If Donald Trump wants him on the White House, I'm sure he knows how to pay plenty of people off. So who knows how this is all connected. But Ilya, White House, I'm excited for it. And,
Well, why does anybody need to be paid off?
the girl just got a settlement money.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I mean, he's going to be all right with all of that. Also, apparently, I read the article that Marca, the Spanish publication, posted about this, specifically the one they're referencing in this tweet, and apparently the rumor about him selling his house was false. So
Nice.
that was something that had been reported by multiple places, but that the house that he has in Spain with the big custom gym that everybody saw in the video apparently is still there. So Ilya will be fine, and I can almost guarantee he will be on the White House.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that was all that I had for this week. I'm hoping it doesn't look like the chat's gonna bust anything else out for us, unfortunately.
Yeah,
But
chat dropped off right at the at the exact time that we had asked. So either way, I mean, we just hit the 2 hour mark. So I think that we've done our time here with this. If you guys do have anything else, we'll stick around for just a few more seconds. I guess while we are sticking around for just a few more seconds, I would like to give a very special shout out to two friends of mine, Diego and Liliana, who just got married today. I was at that wedding. It was a lovely time. So shout out to them. They are wonderful people. And my buddy Ryan, who is a fan of the channel, I got to see him. I haven't seen him in a long time. So good to see him, and my boy Nate as well. So good to be with the homies today and celebrating the wedded bliss of Diego and Lily.
yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I'm actually glad you got to experience that. And a shout out to everybody as well. Shout out to the newlyweds. And of course, if you guys are MMA fans, you got a podcast that you need to be listening to every Monday and occasionally every Friday. And to everybody out there who's still listening, that is a note to you. Every Monday night at 10 p.m., sometimes 11 p.m., we are doing a podcast where we talk about the fights in the UFC octagon. And then when the fights are outside of the UFC octagon and we're waiting for the next fights to be in the octagon, we talk about those ones as well. So everybody just be on lookout that we are always putting out content for you. And it's always to keep you guys entertained, of course. We always want to be some sort of prevailing force in the content sphere. And you guys are keeping
Absolutely.
us active.
Most definitely. I mean, I don't know how many different times and ways that I can say that we've got, one of the greatest podcasts on the planet, certainly one of the best in the MMA space. So it's an imperative that you be here on Monday nights, absolutely, or at the very, very least, listen to the VODs. But yeah, so I also see,
Oh, yep, yep. We're gonna
yeah,
get some more here, Sarah. Did you talk about Kane being eligible for parole? I came in late, so what are you thinking about that?
I could not be happier. I mean, I refrained from saying anything about it because I'm just waiting for Kane to get out. You know what I mean? Like everybody is keeping a keen eye on Kane Velasquez, and I did a whole video about the circumstances there. What the justice or lack thereof in that situation. I want Kane out. I want him to be free. I think that this whole situation is unfortunate. It's terrible all around. I think that Kane has handled it like a consummate professional, and it really the silver lining, if there is any, which I'm not, you can't really say it's a silver lining, but if there's anything that I take away in a positive in any respect, Cain Velasquez is an empathetic, compassionate, genuinely good person at his core that was pushed to a limit that no human being should ever be pushed to.
Mm-hmm.
Because of all of that, he has gone through a circumstance that I think is unfortunately necessary due to the nature of our legal system, but there's a lot of caveats to that as well. I really just want him out of that situation, get back to his life, get back to his family, and put this whole thing behind him.
100%. I couldn't have said it better. I definitely agree. How long is it? Do we know how long it's going to be until he's out?
Well, that's the whole thing, is that he's eligible for parole now, but we don't have like an actual release date
Gotcha.
just yet. So
Gotcha. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
we're
that
waiting.
definitely sucks. But on to the next one. Unfortunately, this is the show where we talk about some of the tragedies going on in this sport. We lost Rafael Sequeira, and we still are waiting for Kane to come home.
Yeah, some things just ain't right in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Cicada being out is probably not one of those things, but yeah, no, Kane, he I guess, like I said, take away the solace that we're getting closer to him being out. And again, I think that really, like, what I really like to know, and I think I actually did research this at one point, but it's now going back maybe about a month, so I don't know what the current to the day information is, but what about the person that he was attacking who did the unspeakable acts to the child?
Mhm.
We're waiting for where's the real justice in that situation? That's what I would like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a cruel world, unfortunately. That's what I will say there.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that's I mean, unless you have anything else about that, I guess that is where
No, I definitely don't have anything else about that situation. I'm just waiting for him to get out because the entirety of that situation is just obviously crazy stuff going on. So I
yeah.
just,
And another video that you can watch if you actually, for some reason, that was I think a little bit like in the early phases of when I was doing like the current style of content that I do. So like if you didn't see the Cain Velasquez video, because not a lot of people did, I'd say that there's some value in watching that one as well. So check that out if you'd like to learn more about the situation and get as infuriated about it as I was in that video.
I definitely will agree with Sarah, justice for Kane. But yes, I would agree with
Always.
Thinker as well that there's a lot of videos on his channel that you guys should be checking out. And if there's any other topics that you guys need us to be talking about, please make sure to let us know for the next Friday episode that we occasionally may bring up. It should be next Friday because it doesn't seem like there's anything going. Oh, the Friday 13th. No,
Uh,
it's not next one.
oh
Oh,
yeah,
maybe
true.
it is. Maybe it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might be. Yeah, we'll have to see because yeah, well, I think Karate Combat will be the order of the day, but we'll figure something out. And also, what we did say recently, Chase and I were chatting privately, and I did mention that like doesn't have to be on a Friday. We do
True.
it on Friday so that we get all of the stuff throughout the week in on a Friday. But like, if we have a day during the midweek, if you guys are with us, we will be here with you guys. So, if you want more free for all content, if you enjoy this style of show, let us know, leave, like, comment, all the things that you do on YouTube. It will signal to us that we should be doing more of this. And, I mean, Chase does a great job of researching for this. So there's always more to be had if you wanted more.
Yeah, and if you guys want even more of the more, right? If you want more, we do MMA movie reviews,
This is
MMA
true.
on film. And the next one we are going to do, we've actually established what it's going to be. So everybody out there, get ready and get your VCRs out because we are going to be watching Bloodsport. And this is something that I've never personally seen. Obviously, I know it's talked about. Bloomis is one of the people that have been telling us to watch it since the beginning. And I kind of feel bad that we haven't watched it yet, but we are finally going to be getting into it. Not necessarily anytime soon, but just keep it in the back burner that is the next movie that we are getting into
Yeah.
soon-ish.
Yeah, I'd say hopefully sooner than later at this point. Now that I'm getting back into the content rolling out on my side, Bloodsport is actually the film that inspired the idea on my side, at least, for MMA on film. I mean, when Chase and I were kind of brainstorming this as a concept of something we could do as a series, like Bloodsport was the first film that jumped out to me as something like, oh, this would be interesting. I had a kind of a different framework for it at the time, but I think what we've been doing has been a lot of fun, and we're quite enjoying it. So, if you guys guys, if you are here right now, if you're one of the 12 people that is currently hanging out with us, then you have the inside info. Get yourself a watch of Bloodsport in, and you will have the inside track for the next episode of that show.
Absolutely. And once again, appreciate everybody for stopping by. We'll give a couple shout outs: CTE, Sarah, Jeremy Hall, Jesse, Davos, Lachlan, Savage, Hydra, and Nav. I saw you earlier as well. I think
And
that's everybody. Go ahead.
Michael, the silent assassin. See, Michael is such a silent assassin that he slips in under the radar. That's why he's the
I
best.
did see him there. Damn it. Yes. Old and tired, but we're. Yep. I love it.
Well, I am old and tired as well, but I got to be up at, I got to be up earlier, but I will be back at 11 o'clock for Glory Kickboxing tomorrow, folks. So I'm going to get some sleep now and be back with you in just a few hours' time. So, Chase, anything else on your side?
No, I was going to say, let them know where they can find you to watch that stream worth the glory.
Always, baby. It is at youtube.com/@YamaShow. And of course, at YamaShow on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook. Make sure you follow your boy.
Hell yeah. And of course, I will be doing the UFC stream tomorrow, and then we will be watching a lot of different other fight promotions like One and potentially Karate Combat next Friday. So everybody make sure to subscribe and like at youtube.com/@CPSmalls.
Guys, we appreciate you so much for being here. It really means the world to us. The support always is amazing. So thank you very much for hanging out with us. Till a couple hours time from now, have a great rest of your night. And as always, fight on.
Change.